shack at. The bottles getting empty up the crack and we stacking chips. All of it's what I want. Plus money winners, that's what I'm on. You can say I'm gone. I prefer elevated pub sports radio. Time to get educated, get produced. Leave the juice letting loose with so much abuse that the bookies wanna call a truce. They getting slaughtered. Can't forget Jeff and low baggers in the chat. That's a lethal weapon 'cause we be pubbing.
What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Happy Friday, September 23rd to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. Good God. We just keep cashing and cashing and cashing. So 7-2 yesterday, plus 4.9 units in MLB, 0-1, down 1.1 units in NCAA football. And then I stayed off the Thursday nighter. But most important thing for me is that our Pub Sports Radio Circa Millions ticket, we hit the winner there. It wouldn't have been on my card. So it made me very excited. So we're 7-4 now in the Circa Millions. That's a show I host with Jose every Thursday. And I hope you guys can join us because it's really, really enjoyable. We are 11-3 in MLB this week. It's just all coming together. Plus 8.25 units. Yesterday was just fucking glorious. From first pitch to fucking last pitch. It was just watching the cash come in. Rangers -1 cashed. Royals first 5 plus 105 cash. Minnesota, Kansas City first 5 under 4.5 cash. San Francisco, Colorado was the easiest cash. Pittsburgh first 5 lost. That young pitcher got the best of me. Boston first 5 lost.
What was that guy's name again?
Scott. We'll call him Scott. God, just bringing up Scott McCormack, I'd be pissed off for the last 24 hours, except for when the winners come fucking rolling in. Pittsburgh first 5, Boston first 5 were losers. Cleveland first 5 -0.5, Cleveland full game -1, cash, and Arizona, LA Dodgers first 5 under 3.5 cash. Just cash. And I'm not the only one cashing. I'm watching all you guys. We just continue to succeed as a group. We're not always on the same spots, but we're just working together and we're seeing, our rewards. We're all getting fatter pockets. We're all eating. And the eating is fucking good. And the eating has been happening like this for 8 months. So, first off, it feels good. It feels really good. But, new day, new cash. Stay focused. Let's go get it right now. Shout out to all the cappers joining us. Fap win in the house as bookies got not 1 but 2 loads yesterday. Chubb anytime touchdown and Milwaukee run line -1.5. Great job. And then France Racing, La Croix Rock race 5. 222 at plus 250. The race is an hour, 41 minutes. Thank you for sharing that with us. Fap. I will copy and paste that thoroughbred action that you so have delivered. Copy and paste that right there. Thing of beauty. There's Razor Sharp Picks. Another 2-0 sweep for Razor. Gambler's first glance. Cash. Love it. J-Dub, NJ Striker, North Ender. Man, it's all like, look at Northern says, another calm 7-2 night. He went 5-2 plus 3.2 units, but it's all thanks to the great work we do in here. Perfectly put. Von Polo, what's happening, man? Yeah, it is cold. Some winter jackets were pulled out. Not full-on winter jackets, but for getting out of the school in the morning. Fanatical Jim, Marlon Gibson, Justin McElvey. Says he's hungover, but let's keep cashing. Appreciate you and your team, bro. It's our team, Justin. 2-team parlay cash Browns -4 and Cavs Coastal Carolina money line. Beautiful. Ryan Mueller likes the Brewers -1.5. I'm going to copy and paste that, right? There's my guy, Nut Flush Allen, in the house. And Nut Flush Allen's excellent with the San Francisco Giants. Season total will cover my stupid move on the White Sox to win the division. Slatsy45 says the chat pick for Circuit gets there. First pick, the Browns. Yeah. No, I don't think I'm worried for nothing. If you cap with me for a long time, you know it's just me. I'm fucking concerned. I'm very concerned. The stakes are fucking high, and I get very concerned about our action. And look, Jose and I know if we don't succeed to start off the year, that show will fail. If we get hot, that show will pop. It's all thanks to Jeff Slaughter's idea.
And let's not forget, everyone, if you guys don't know this, Jimmy worries about literally everything all the time at every moment. So him
within sports gambling.
And the show as well. And the show.
Obviously. Oh, yeah, the show. But that's within sport. You know, the show, sports gambling. Everything else, I'm pretty cool. You know, I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty relaxed.
I don't know about that. I need to see it. I guess I need to see that.
You're right, because you only see me focusing on the show and our action. So, yeah.
Yes, he worries, everyone. No matter what side we take, he's going to worry. I promise.
Yeah. Bo Jackson, Ronnie and Bergie, 4 and 2 cashed on West Virginia and Coastal. Great job. Mark Schillingberg, and I still felt like I should have cashed that under 63. That when that pick 6 happened, I knew I was fucked. I knew I completely. You don't want Coastal Carolina upset. Grayson pissed off. You're screwed. BJ Viper, Jay Peasy, Mike M, David Summers in the house. We love you, David. Ray Charles, Mark Schillingberg, Von Polo says that new Baby album hard. You need to check it out. I've not. Yeah, I'm a little behind in things. I have a 1-track mind right now, and that's just this cash coming in. And I legitimately, I know this is like I shouldn't feel like this, but I legitimately feel like bad for everybody who's been with me since day one, because it took me 5 years of gambling publicly. When I started down in Costa Rica, I thought I was a great capper or a good capper, at least. I wasn't, but it took me 5 years to get to this point where it's just, I don't know if I'll, be able to keep the ROI like this, but it took a long time. It took a lot of losing to get to this point. And so for those of you who are just joining me now, know that this shit didn't happen overnight. Danny Lopez, Michael Irvelina, Saturated, Mike M in the house. I love it. Thank you guys all for joining us here on Pub Sports Radio. Series Business, ready to get to work. Billy Friedrich, RVD 420, Bo Jackson, the Chameleon, Moneyline Mills, Coin, Jake Fagan. Jake Fagan, my local is tailing and betting more than me, he claims. But I don't believe him. And he sold his company. And he's paying me a weekly sum that isn't 25. Well, we can get into that shit later. But I'm moving my whole operation. D. Jenkins wants to get paid in NCAA football. Spreadsheet play today is in from Ron Crawford. Ron Crawford spreadsheet play of the day is in. There we go. Okay. Also, I'm too sick to be here, but I can't stop. I can't miss a day. I can't miss a fucking minute with the way we're cashing right now. Johnny Gilpatrick in the house. Mike Morris. Slatsy. I don't know if that's the case, man. I don't know, but it's nice of you to say. Leonard Porsche Jr. Guillermo Zertucci says, special shout out to my son Esteban, who bought my first grandson into the world. That's great news, Guillermo. And shout out to Esteban, who we all got to hang out with in San Antonio. I love seeing the Zertucci family grow. That's great news. Absolutely great news. Kev Reed in the house. What wonderful news from our Guillermo Zertucci. There's Jeff Slaughter ready to get to work. Art Hayes ready to go. MDR 24. Sanka, it is great to see you. Dan Kelly says, don't feel bad. Wine Time Sports this morning from Maui, guys. 5 a.m. here. Took an L last night on VTech, but I'm on Yankees versus Red Sox under 8. There's R2D2 Finland. Saturated says, do you expect the Sharps to start drying up at some point? Look, the public will win a couple weeks, but the public are a pack of losers. So, look, I was afraid to take the Browns when it all came down to, when we were getting closer to kickoff. I mean, I took them in my pools and shit like that, but I didn't bet them. But if you're going to be on a public dog, well, deal with the consequences of being with the public. Hang out with the public, your wallet gets stolen. RW says, listen every day at work, but can never hop on in the chat, but had to make an exception. Thank you, RW. Great to see you. And Razor says, public's hammering the overs in college football tonight. Saturated says, were you on public faves a lot 5 years ago? It's not that saturated. I just didn't care that much about where the money was. So, good. Great to see you. All right. It is time to get to work, but we have important news to get to you guys. Our big poker tournament. It's a free roll. It pops off next Wednesday night. All of your Pub Sports Radio personalities will be live. Jose's going to host. He's also going to be in the tournament. It's not going to be easy for young Jose Zenyatta, one hole, two fingers bouquet.
Good thing I've got Gamblestein giving me lessons on poker, fuckers.
I don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think it's going to be enough. But the earlier you get knocked out, the better job you'll do hosting. And so we only want 4 people on the screen at one time, but it's a free roll for all of you guys. $500 to the top 5, a $25 bounty on all of the Pub Sport Radio personalities' head. And then Bet Online is giving us 10 tickets, $109 tickets for their 300,000 guaranteed tourney on October 2nd. So that's the big news. So we're going to get our code so you can put in Pub Sports Radio or Pub Sports. It's just Pub Sports and Capitals. We're going to get it so soon. We're waiting. We're counting down the minutes till we can give it to you. And then we need everybody to sign up, because the more people who sign up for the poker tournament, then we're going to be able to do more of them. And they're going to put up more money. And we love Bet Online. First to the market, just a real quality book. So we want to build this relationship. Nut Flush Allen says, can't wait for the poker tournament. I mean, very, very excited. I'm very excited about doing this. So we want to build it up, and we want to be able to do it but we're going to do free rolls. There'll be free rolls, and Bet Online will put in something, Jeff will put in something, and then it'll be glorious. And shout out to Jeff Slaughter, who just makes this whole company. He's the reason why we are here. He's the reason why we're succeeding. And he puts in $500 for the tournament there. He buys our circa millions. So we're very, very excited. We got a quick R2D2 Finland, a quick hockey tip there, right there. So the Finnish league, HIFK to win at plus 106, Jurker to win at plus 106, and live no draws at plus 160, 15 minutes. K. Reed says he will be home and won't fall asleep. I love it. Okay. Let's get to work, says D Mills, and I agree completely with that. I love these Fridays very, very much. And I want to hammer the poker tournament as hard as I can with you guys, because it's next Wednesday at 9 p.m. And starting next week, or starting as soon as we get the code, we just need people to sign up. We want to show Bet Online how strong we are and build for more poker tournaments. But don't forget our MyBookie promo as well. Pub Sports over at MyBookie match. You're buying 100% match. All right, let's get to work. Sweaty Butcher said, what up, homie? Shout out to Joey Work for the Guardians play. Yeah, Joey Work, beautiful. I was on them first half, -half, full game, -1. The opportunity right now to step on the White Sox throat felt very good, and it was a great breakdown here on the show. Okay, let's get to work right now. Part of the reason why I love these Fridays so much is not just because of the great cappers in the chat and our success. It's my co-host on these Fridays. Man, he caps every sport with such skill and precision. Please welcome to the show, part of Hamilton, Ontario, Ian Cameron in the house. Bobano, how are you, my man?
Doing good. We got our Oski Wee Wee shirt. It's the game of the year for my squad tonight. If they don't win it, you might as well say stick a fork in them. They're done. So it's obviously a very important day here in these parts.
It is a very important day, and you were there in person last week. Remember, I said, Bobano, our CFL, our record is not where I want it to be. You went 2-0 on your overs. Would have been 3-0. You stayed off one of them, but you went 2-0, and then I went 2-0 on the Ticats game. Let's get hot. So we went a combined 4-0 last week. Let's sweep the board again this week. And I do find it pretty difficult. So the reason why I find it difficult is because we're dealing with all these teams who are coming off buys. There's extra buys this time of year. Let's get to work right now on that game. Let me make sure I've got everything set up here. We will start with the line history. Welcome to Betting with the Bag, Fridays with Bobano on Pub Sports Radio. And let's get right to work and keep fucking eating. We start with the Ticats Alouettes. Ticats 4-9, 0-6 on the road at the Montreal Alouettes, 5-7, 3-3 at home. Percival Molson Memorial Stadium in Montreal, Quebec. This opened up. Get this up here. This opened up with the Ticats plus 2.5 at -107, and this 2.5 is now -122. But the initial move was towards the Montreal Alouettes coming in off their bye. This got down to actually, no, I guess 2.5, 2. It's always been a 2. But right now, there's been a 15-cent move to the Ticats at plus 2.5. So I guess so I take that back. I thought that initial move was over to the Alouettes, but that's not the case. The initial move was to the Ticats, 2.5, 2, 2.5, 2. There are some ones here that I don't know. Was there ever a 1? I feel like that's a misprint.
No, there wasn't. No.
The Pinnacle says there was a 1 at 8:52 this morning, and I find that impossible to believe. Okay, so there we go. From a total standpoint, this opened up at 52 and dropped. It went down to 50.5 and is now at 51. The Ticats desperately needed a win last week, and it all came together. Beat the Bombers 48-31, 424 yards and 48 points against that Winnipeg defense. Dane Evans, 327 yards, 5 touchdowns. Coming up against these Alouettes, who are coming off a bye. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. They're playing better football than I want them to play. I despise Machocha. They have a bunch of injuries in their secondary, which can be exploited. I mean, they haven't had Greg Reed most of the year, but now they've added to that. Their starting safety is out. Take it away. This is your boys in action. Tiger Cats, Alouettes, Bobano. Let's roll.
Now, before you say this is a homer pick, because I like Hamilton here, there's a lot of compelling cases to make for the Ticats here. First of all, you got Montreal in the role that they are not good in, and that's home favorites. This has been a role that has been dreadful for the Alouettes all season long. They've not been good as home chalk, and they're coming off a bye week, but the bye week's been bad for this team. You go back and look at the 2 previous bye weeks they've had since Danny Machocha took over. All they did was lose outright as favorites both times at home off a bye week against the Edmonton Elks and then against the Ottawa Redblacks just a few weeks ago. They've not been prepared. They've not been ready to play football off a bye week, this Montreal team. And here we go again. You know, here's a chance to correct that. They should be ready. I mean, this is a team that's 2 points behind you for the second place spot in the East, likely the final playoff spot in the division. But we've had 2 pieces of evidence of this team not being ready to play and not playing well after a bye week. So that's a concern. The defense still is shaky, in my opinion, for Montreal. I know they shut down BC in the game before the bye week, but that was Antonio Pipkin. I don't want to put too much stock into that. Good point by Slatsy in the chat about Marc-Antoine Dequoy, I should say, one of the key cornerbacks for this Montreal team, because he's been a ball hawk in that secondary. He's been picking off passes. He's been forcing interceptions from opposing quarterbacks. He's been a real legit difference maker in that secondary. He's not going to play. We do have a key defensive player out, though, on our team, and that's Dylan Wynn, one of our better defensive linemen. He's not going to play in this game. But you look at Montreal here. They've not been good as home favorites. They're off a bye. They've not been good in that spot. And look, maybe this is going to be a case where Hamilton, with that incredible win against Winnipeg, which was just, I mean, it was dominant and it was shocking to see because we haven't seen that version of the Ticats all year, a complete game on all 3 phases, offense, defense, special teams. It was a glorious thing to watch live in person at the stadium. But at the same time, you could also say, you know what, we've not seen any consistency from the Ticats this year. Are they going to have that ability to back it up and do it again here. And I know there's people that told, someone asked me about this game. They said, what do you think of your Ticats? You think they're in a letdown spot? How could this be a letdown spot? Seriously, your season's on the line here. You lose this football game, you're 4 points behind Montreal, and you lose the tiebreaker as well, which is the season series, which would be 2-1 in favor of Montreal. So if you lose this game, you're 4 points back, and you lose the tiebreaker. You might as well say you're 6 points back of Montreal if you lose this game because of the fact you lose the tiebreaker. So how can that be a letdown spot when this is a game you have to have? This is a team you have to beat. Shame on them if they do have a letdown, but I can't see it. And maybe we can look at that Winnipeg win as a springboard for this team. We have seen this in the CFL in the past. Late September, October, a team gets a huge win against a really good team out of nowhere, and it's like a light switch gets flipped. And all of a sudden, they go on a run, and they get red hot, and a team that was mediocre all season all of a sudden looks different late September and October. Maybe, just maybe, that could be Hamilton this year. Who knows? But I'm on the Ticats here, plus the points. Plus, let me just see. I've got my new. I just recently started using BetStamp. It is a terrific app, absolutely phenomenal. And now I can shop around for best numbers and see it here. Looks like we've got 2.5 minus 103 ProLine Plus, which is an Ontario book. So we'll use that. Hamilton plus 2.5 minus 103, and we'll go with the over as well. 51 minus 106 at Pinnacle with that over. I think we're going to see points. I think, last game was a shootout with Hamilton, Montreal. Montreal's trended over the total at home. 5 of their last 6 games have gone over the total. Hamilton's defense still not great. Even though they beat Winnipeg, the defense still gave up some points. And Hamilton's defense has actually given up 27 plus in, I believe, 6 straight games now. And I think they've gone over the total at a 5-1 clip in those 6 games. Yeah, they've given up 27 or more, the Ticats, in 6 straight games. So I think you see points tonight. 2 good offenses, and I think the defense is a little bit shaky on both teams.
And what was the total that you got?
51 minus 106.
Over 51 at minus 106. And it is real what happened at Pinnacle. Pinnacle did move this to 1. It's very interesting that it came back so quickly. Very, very interesting. So they moved it all the way to Hamilton as the favorite at 8:50 this morning.
They were -1, Hamilton, seriously.
-1 at minus 107. That lasted for 2 minutes before they moved it to plus 103, which lasted for 12 minutes before they moved it to plus 107. So I find that fascinating. And another part of this, though, is that now you made such an important point about this could be the turning point in the Ticats season. We know they're much better than their record.
And this also could be a letdown spot that some people asked me about because we know they're inconsistent too. I'm willing to believe that was such a good game against such a terrific football team last week that is a springboard as opposed to, back to the same old Ticats this week where they look lost half the time.
Yeah, no, I absolutely hear that. I just... I want to only buy low on teams in football. I kind of just now I'm going to miss spots where teams catch fire. I get it, but I cashed with the Ticats first half full game last week, and I'm going to just cheer you on here and watch the game and figure out who these Ticats are. The over 51 that you grabbed, I do like and understand why you moved on it. But this has
not only that they've both been trending over, but now you've got defensive key members of both teams out tonight. So that could hurt a little bit more for defenses.
Well, I will be cheering you on. I will be cheering you on there. We have Bobano on the Ticats plus 2.5 in the over 51 at minus 106. Let's move on to Saturday's action. Then we're going to get into NCAA football, and then we will break down the entire MLB card. And it's quite a run if you put our last Friday, this Wednesday and Thursday. The last
Toronto and Ottawa, by the way, not Saskatchewan. Toronto and Ottawa. That's okay.
Yeah,
people know that.
Oh no, it was my fault. I know why he made that mistake. It was my fault because I put the Ottawa Rough Riders. I put Toronto Argonauts at Ottawa Rough Riders in my notes. So that was the problem. So I
Were
screwed
you in the
Jose.
show in 2022 or 1992?
I know. So I screwed up. I screwed Jose up because that's what the Redblacks were used to be called, Jose. So that's all my fault. So it's my fault. I'll take the blame for that. Toronto Argonauts at Ottawa Redblacks. Argonauts 7-5, 3-2 on the road. Redblacks 3-9, 0-6 at home. We're at TD Place Stadium in Ottawa, Ontario. And now we have both teams coming in off a bye, and they just played each other 2 weeks ago. So there's a lot of moving parts to this one. Argos open up -2.5. They get to -2, so some money came in on Ottawa earlier in the week, but they're sitting right now at exactly the spot that they opened at, -2, around -105, -106. This total opened up at 47, and yesterday in the morning it moved to 46.5. That was a 24-19 win for the Argos, who are now 7-5 and very comfortably in first in this very, very weak Eastern Division. McLeod Bethel Thompson now is second in the league with 3,427 passing yards. Now, I know he's second in the league because Rourke went down with an injury, but he's been pretty solid for this football team. He's been a guy that they can count on week in and week out. And they've done almost all of their winning against the East Division opponents. And they've dealt with a ton of injuries this year, but he's just kept the chains moving. Ottawa 3-9, and you nailed it when you talked about the change with Arbuckle at quarterback. And I didn't really believe it. But you absolutely nailed it. And they're playing good football right now. And they're turning it on at the right time now, 3-9. But there's that giant 0 beside their win total at home. We've seen this follow around the Elks, and it's been following around the Redblacks, not this inability to win at home. Take it away for us, Bobano. Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, Argonauts, Redblacks.
Yeah, but the difference is Edmonton's not even close to winning these home games. Not even close. I mean, a lot of these games, they're getting blown out. That's not necessarily the case with Ottawa. Ottawa's been close on a lot of occasions this year. They lost by 3 against BC at home. They lost by 7 against Montreal at home. They did get blown out a couple of times, some ugly losses to Edmonton and Calgary at home. The last home game against Toronto, 24-19, and they had the ball with 2 minutes left, a chance to win the game with a touchdown, and they got stopped, and Toronto hung on for the win. And I mean hung on. I mean, Toronto had a nice start, and they really didn't do much on offense in the second half against Ottawa 2 weeks ago, and then Ottawa made that comeback. Yeah, Toronto only scored 11 points in the second half, none in the fourth quarter. They were all in the third quarter. So Ottawa's defense really allowed them a chance to get back into the game. But again, they had to settle for a field goal when they were down by 8, and then they got the ball back and they couldn't make the most of it. You look at the stats in that game, 408 yards for the Toronto Argonauts, 391 for Ottawa. So it was a pretty close football game. And if you're Ottawa, this is a must for Ottawa. I actually don't. I think it's already a little too late for them. They're going to have to go on a super red hot run down the stretch to get in, but it's got to start here. They've got to get this one against the Argos. Now, must win doesn't equal will win, but you got to believe this is your last gasp if you're Ottawa. If you're Nick Arbuckle, Nick Arbuckle's kind of, I don't want to say regressed, but kind of did a little bit the last couple of games for, or actually the last game for Ottawa. He didn't play that great in the loss against Toronto. He was playing good before that, the Montreal game and the Edmonton game. He played well. He really took the onus on himself to be better after that game. There was some really good article in the Ottawa, I think of the Ottawa Sun earlier this week. I happened to read it. Says, I just needed to be a lot better and more accurate and make better decisions with the football. If I had done that, I think we could have won that game. And he says, I really got a chance to look at the tape over the bye week, see what things I can correct, what things with my mechanics of throwing the football I can look at. So he's put in the work to be better here in this game against Toronto. Let's see if it plays out that way on the field. I don't want to go against Ottawa in this spot. I haven't made up my mind if I want to back Ottawa, though. You know what I mean? Because we're still talking about a team that's been hopeless on their home field this year. 0-6 straight up. 0-6 against the spread, too. I mean, haven't even covered a point spread this year at home. It's tough to get behind that, but you got to believe you're going to get whatever Ottawa's best is here, because this is it for them. They lose, and it might be Fade City for Ottawa the rest of the season. You might be able to just fade this team blindly or close to it the rest of the season if they lose this game on Saturday. I will give MBT credit. He's throwing the ball better. Had a lot of passing yards in the last game. His numbers lately have been better, and he's at least limited the interceptions a bit. He still throws one every game, it seems, though. I mean, that does still bother me a little bit when you look at his numbers. McLeod Bethel Thompson, he's still good for, a lot of interceptions, but he's at least done a better job of it. The run game has been tough sledding without Andrew Harris, but AJ Ouellette's done a decent job. The defense is what stepped up for Toronto. They've played really good defense here. This could be your under. If there was one game I think you could see lower scoring in the CFL this week of the 3 games, it's probably this one. Of course, the last meeting 2 weeks ago stayed under. So I lean under. I lean Ottawa. I haven't made any official moves yet.
I'm going to move on this under. I think the move to 46.5 makes sense. After a week of planning, so these teams play, then there's a bye. We know the style of play from these two squads. Do you think that the bye week helps the defense more than the offense come up with trick plays to surprise the defense? I think it's going to help the defense lock in on what the opposition can do. What side of the ball do you think it helps the most coming off a bye after seeing each other?
I think it actually will help the offenses, but I don't know if it'll help the offenses enough to push this game over the total. You've got methodical attacks on both sides. Toronto wants to run. Toronto wants it to be a dink and dunk throwing passing game with McLeod Bethel Thompson. And really, it's that way for Arbuckle, too. Arbuckle really doesn't stretch the field a whole lot. A lot of his throws are short to intermediate. They still want to keep the run game involved as well. And really, it's been Devontae Williams that's kind of taken over that spot due to some injuries there. So, you're probably going to see a methodical, style of play from both teams. And I think it's worth noting in that last game, I'm pretty sure one of the touchdowns or a couple of the touchdowns and field goals in that game created off turnovers that created short fields. So it's not, some of the points in that game 2 weeks ago were short fields off of turnovers. So not a product of the teams marching the ball up and down the field on offense. So yeah, it wouldn't sway me too much from my lean that this game's lower scoring once again. And by the way, the series history, 3 straight overs head to head with Toronto and Ottawa as well.
I think this is like a 23-20 kind of a final score. It is getting colder. It's not a very cold. It's colder tonight in Montreal, than it is tomorrow in Ottawa. We have one more CFL game before we get into NCAA football. A couple things I want to mention. Our guy Clint has given a Bellator parlay. It starts in an hour at even money. Brett Johns and Mads Burnell and Yoel inside the distance. Brett Johns, Mads Burnell, and Yoel inside.
That must be a European Bellator event or something that's playing at this time of day.
Must be, yeah. So there's from Clint. And then big shout out to our guy TJ. He's brought a gift. He's not only putting money in our pockets, he's from a gambling perspective, because the gift is now 11. Are we going for 11-1, right? Aren't we at 10-1? God, I can't remember. It's absolutely superlative record. But he also gives $20 up to Pop Sports Radio. What a guy, TJ. You're absolutely incredible. Thank you for it is at 11-1. Wow. So we're going for 12-1. The gift. I love it. And it's the Giants' first 5 minus a half. And Summers Are for Taint is in Alabama. First quarter. I'm going to pop this in here into our NCAAF. Okay, so I am moving on that under 46.5, which is available right now in Ottawa, Toronto. Let's get to the final game on the board and then move on to NCAA football. Then, of course, we'll break down the entire MLB card. We have Stampeders, BC Lions. This one has a very high total, but I thought last week's total was high, and you went on the over confidently and cashed it. This opened up with the Lions as 1-point favorites. There has been a 7-cent move towards Calgary at this price. Maybe we should look at the money line instead. The Lions opened up minus 118 and now minus 110. So not everybody believing in what happened last week with Vernon Adams Jr. From a total standpoint, it opened up at 55, and we're now at 54.5. That's the situation. BC plays Vancouver. These Stamps 8-5, 5-2. The Lions 9-3, 4-2 at home, and 5-2 on the road. And they have found their quarterback. It took a little bit of time, and they have found their quarterback, and it's Vernon Adams Jr. 294 yards. Didn't throw a pick last week, and it was a a very emotional game between these two teams. And Lucky Whitehead said he was sucker punched in the back of the head. No one has video. This is Canadian football. So no one even had a phone up, Bobano? Is that true? No one even.
Apparently, no one saw this mysterious parking lot incident either that happened after the game. Apparently, some players from both teams, John in the parking lot, almost came to a physical altercation, and the police had to step in. So it's crazy. I mean, obviously, there's some serious dislike, but apparently nobody saw the punch, and someone got suspended because of that. Cameron Judge for the Stamps, who's one of their key linebackers. So, bizarre.
But that's who Whitehead said punched him in the back of the head.
Yep. They must have seen something or gotten a secondhand account or something. I don't know.
What is this, the late 80s?
Yeah.
So, okay. That's the situation. So these teams don't like each other, and Judge is being suspended. Burnham was the top receiver. James Butler ran for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. It looked great. Jake Mayer, Viper says no video proof. Typical Canada. Dan Kelly said Western Canadians are crazy. I thought that said lazy at first, but crazy will take crazy. Jake Mayer, honestly, when push comes to shove and we're in the playoffs, and I said this right when he came in, I don't know if he's the guy. 2-2 since taking over the starting.
Come on, Jimmy. That's ridiculous. I gotta push back on that. Have you seen the games? I mean, 2-2, and the defense hasn't stopped anybody in the 2 games they lost with him.
I just think that there's a Super Bowl, Grey Cup champ gnawing at the bit right now. And I do believe when push comes to shove, we'll see him behind center. I do believe that. But look, he threw 301 yards and 3 touchdowns. I do believe that we'll see Bo once more. Stampeders Lions here. You've had a nice read on this series between these two teams. Take it away.
If I'm Dave Dickinson, I say Bo Mitchell's. You keep sitting your ass on that bench. Bo Mitchell ain't doing better than 75% completions, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's not doing better than that at this stage of his career. Simple. Bo Mitchell, I want him in 2016. All right. I don't want him in 2022. Not when I got this kid slinging the football like he's doing right now. He's doing a nice job, Jake Mayer. And if you look at the 2-2 record, like I said, the 2 losses against BC and Winnipeg, Calgary's defense was to blame, not Jake Mayer. They couldn't stop anybody. He kept driving them down, putting them in the end zone, putting them ahead, and the defense just couldn't stop anybody. And that's the problem. And that's the issue right now with the Stamps right now. They can't get stops when they need it. And again, last week, he plays a nice game. No interceptions. What do you have? 3 touchdowns, another big passing day. And then in overtime, they can't get a stop when they need it. BC wins in Calgary. So that's been the issue. And that being said, I do like Calgary here. A revenge spot. They've been better on the road, believe it or not, this season than they've been at McMahon Stadium. Actually, Calgary's 5-2 straight up on the road. They've covered 5 of 7 on the road as well. And go look at the track record for Calgary and BC. This has been a weird division rivalry here the last few years where BC has gone to Calgary and really played well at McMahon Stadium, and Calgary has owned BC here at BC Place Stadium. It's the craziest thing, but Calgary has dominated BC. I think 4 straight wins straight up, 3-1 against the spread, the last 4 in BC with Cal. Now, some of those BC teams were pretty bad. No question about that. But Calgary's done very well here in this stadium. They're off the loss last week. And Calgary's in the same boat that Ottawa is and Hamilton is. If you don't win this game, you're not catching BC for second. Okay, you're in a spot where if you have any aspirations of getting a home playoff game and catching BC for second in the West, you have to win this football game for Calgary. It has to happen. I'm going to trust that they can. The defense, again, we talk about how the defense is struggling. Now they're going to be without Cameron Judge. That's not going to help, but they can't play. They've been playing bad with Cameron Judge on the field. How much worse can they play, this Calgary team? And by the way, they do have some key concerns with injuries going into this game here. TJ Lee didn't practice earlier this week. They've got one of their better linemen, Chung Suk, that may not play as well. So a couple injuries for BC going into this game. The good news for Calgary is Malik Henry, Kadeem Carey, they were questionable earlier in the week, and they're both going to go. That's their running back and maybe their best receiver. for Calgary. So, you look at this situation, it's more of a situational bet. BC wins a close one in Calgary in overtime. Calgary now returns the favor in a place where they've dominated the Lions over the years. And I'm going to need to see Vernon Adams play well again. He was great last week, but now Calgary's, with whatever defense they have, and I'll admit it hasn't been good, make your adjustments. You're now seeing him again for a second straight week. So is BC with Mayer, but I've got issues with BC's secondary if TJ Lee doesn't go again, because they've been giving up yards without him. So I like Calgary, and as far as the total goes, I'll go back to the well with it again with the over here. I mean, look at the series history with the totals as well, Jimmy, with the Calgary BC 33-23, and this year alone we had 41-40, 31-29, 81 points, 60 points, and then we had 56 points in the last meeting last year. So high total, but it's high for a reason. And the offenses are the better groups on these two teams right now, especially when it comes to Calgary.
Well, let's lock you in. Can you beat plus 100?
Let me just see here. I should have brought that up here, because there's ones and there's 1.5s here on this game. We've got, come on, hurry up. Here we go. Yeah, we got plus 1.5 actually. Plus 1.5 is out there right now at minus 103. Proline plus 1.5, minus 103 Calgary. And we'll go with over 54.5. Looks like the best with that. Yeah, over 54.5, minus 108 at Pinnacle.
You are locked in. You have over 54.5, minus 108. The Stampeders plus 1.5 at minus 103. And to the Bo thing, he is 32. You make it sound like he's 40. 32.
Sometimes, decline and regression hits you earlier in your career and you're earlier in life than you'd want. Tom Brady obviously is 45 and he can still play at a decent level. But for Bo Mitchell, I've saw enough of Bo this year where he's underthrowing, overthrowing receivers. His interception numbers have consistently gone up the last 2 years. I understand why Dave Dickinson made the change, and I understand why he's sticking with Jake Mayer. But that's me.
I feel you. And look, this is fun. It's fun talking about these things. So Stampeders plus 1.5, minus 103.
We'll get you on board the Jake Mayer train at some point.
Over 54.5 for Bobano. I'm on the under 46.5 in Toronto, Ottawa, and then Bobano's on the Ticats plus 2.5, minus 103, and the over 51 at minus 106. Let's move on to college football, and we are being given a Matty Ice, David Summers look. Summers are for taint. Is Alabama first quarter minus 10.5 has been given to us from the chat. But we start at 7 p.m. Eastern. Virginia Cavaliers 2-1. Their first game in the ACC at the Syracuse Orange 3-0, 1-0 at home. I want to call it the Carrier Dome. I don't want to change its name, but we're in Syracuse, New York for this one. Let's go into the line history as we get started here. I was disappointed. I opened the year with 3 straight losses. Then I cashed 13 winners in a row and now 2 straight losses. I was upset not hitting the under in the Georgia State game last night. Here we go with the line history in Virginia, Syracuse. Syracuse opening up at minus 9.5. They got up to 10 and 10.5. Those were the first moves, and then back to 9.5, then up to 10.5, back to 9.5. They're sitting at 10 right now. Syracuse, 10-point favorites. This total opened up at 54.5, and it went up to 55. But the first move was to 52.5. And now it's right back where it opened. There's been a 3-cent difference. So there has been quite a bit of movement, even though it doesn't look like it. 16,203 tickets in, 28% of tickets, 33% of the cash on Virginia. So some sharp money on Virginia, public on Syracuse. Then you have 36% of the tickets and 66% of the cash on the over. Cavs, Orange, Syracuse coming off 32-29 win against Purdue last week. Garrett Schrader has been good. 13 of 29 for 181 yards, but 3 touchdowns, and he's moving the ball with his legs. 83 yards. He led the Orange in rushing. It was interesting because Purdue shut down Sean Tucker, who was coming in off a back-to-back 100-yard rush game. So Tucker probably angry about the situation. Look, Virginia did not look good beating Old Dominion as time expired last week, and their scoring has had just such a massive drop from last season. But again, I don't know. I just feel like we got to decide when we want to buy low and sell high. And clearly, Syracuse riding high, looking to go 4-0. But should we just put a line through Virginia? How are you handling this one? Take it away, Bobano. Virginia, Syracuse.
So I've got Syracuse as a small play. I don't think I'm going to make it official because I do worry that this price is a little rich. All right. But there's nothing I like about Virginia right now. This offense that was so good last year is not good. This quarterback that was so good last year, Brennan Armstrong, has struggled. I actually still think he can be a pretty solid player, but here's the issue. He had a great receiving core last year, not this year. He had a great offensive line last year, not this year. And it has become a major, major problem for Virginia here these first three games. You know, these are opponents that they're playing, especially Old Dominion, you know, last week at home. You got to be able to score more than 16 points. I know ODU's got a capable, solid enough defense, but you should be able to score more than 16 points there in that game. They got shut down by Illinois on the road, 3 points. The only game they really put up any sort of points was Richmond with 34, FCS opponent. So you can't put too much into that. And it's been a struggle for the Virginia offense. And wouldn't you know it? Probably another reason why the offense isn't as good this year is their former offensive coordinator is now with the team they're playing tonight, Syracuse. And look at how that Syracuse offense has played. Robert and I has done a great job here with this Syracuse offense. I didn't know Garrett Schrader could throw a competent forward pass last year at times. Really. I mean, that's how much this throwing was not good last year's passing ability. But he's improved in that regard. He obviously still has the ability to make plays with his feet. They got Tucker, the great running back. And this is probably – it isn't probably. It is the best offensive line Syracuse has had in a couple of years. I know it is because it's the last few years they've been absolutely terrible with the offensive line the last couple of years. So I understand now you're paying a little premium here. Syracuse has some nice wins on their resume. They beat the hell out of Louisville. They crushed UConn. They come back to beat a good Purdue team. I still think Purdue's good. I think Purdue's one of the better 1 and 2 teams in college football right now. And Syracuse came back to beat them, a wild game. I have a small bet here on Syracuse -9.5. Won't make it official. But another one I lean to, and I won't make it official. Noli saying, you like any unders? You're going to give us any unders? I actually like 2 unders on this card tonight, and this is probably one of them. You know, I was lucky to get a winner with the over with Syracuse and Purdue, but that game was 15-10. All right, early in the fourth quarter. The game was, 9-6 or something at halftime? I mean, if you had the under in that game, it's a horrible beat. You had the right bet, the right look, and it just crumbled because of a insane fourth quarter where the points just exploded in that game. So Virginia's not an offense I trust to bet overs right now. There's no way. And they don't even play fast. They play at a snail pace as well. Tony Elliott, the new head coach, wants to run the football a lot more this year. And I think that's a problem too. That was such a pass-heavy offense last year. And now they're asking Brennan Armstrong to hand the ball off, 20, 30 times. So I think it's been a bit of a bad fit here, this new offense for Brennan Armstrong. And again, the O-line and the receiving core is not as good. Syracuse might have a pretty good defense this year as well. I know it got crazy in the fourth quarter, but overall, the Syracuse defense has played pretty well, and this could be one of the worst offenses they played so far this year. Purdue's offense is better than Virginia. Louisville, they've struggled, but I still think Louisville's probably a little bit better offense than Virginia. UConn's not much of an offense. I mean, so, and Virginia here, you've got this team that I think struggling on offense. Syracuse can maybe be able to contain them. So I would lean under as well.
We see sharp cash on the over here, public on the under, and some big bets have come in on Virginia.
Man, that's strange that the public's on the.
Well, do you not think that this
here.
Virginia offense will improve throughout the year? I mean,
it might, but I don't know if it'll improve tonight on the road at the it used to be the Carrier Dome, the sponsor now that bought the naming rights, but it could. But I'll tell you what, I mean, you should be scoring more than 6 at home against Old Dominion, and you're going on the road against the Syracuse defense that I think's improved quite a bit this year. And no question about that. This team can play some defense now, Syracuse. So that's the concern. They've not been a good point spread team. And another thing that concerns me about taking points with Virginia is Syracuse has been phenomenal here at home. I think they've covered 7 of their last 8, 7-1 ATS their last 8 home games. And this has always been a tough place they make it tough on opponents here. They play good football here. But how many of these games have they been favored by 10? That's the counter argument. This does feel like, hey, they've made a power rating and they've made a point spread adjustment now on Syracuse. We'll find out tonight if it's enough. But when you're talking 3-0 against the spread, which Syracuse is, 0-3 against the spread, which Virginia is, I'm taking the team that's 3-0 ATS over the team that's 0-3 ATS until I see the market correction get there. We don't know if the market's corrected for Syracuse enough yet. We don't know if the market's corrected with Virginia enough and how bad they've been. So until that happens, it's Syracuse for me.
I find this game absolutely fascinating. It's obviously
a
the
good
game.
Watch because we're going to find out some things. Yeah,
it is the game of the night, and it will be our live stream here on Pub Sports Radio this evening, hosted by Dabra Kadabra. Dabby Cab will be hosting this one, so join us for Friday night drinks for Virginia Syracuse. We move on to 8 p.m. Eastern. Nevada 2-2, opening up their Mountain West account at Air Force 2-1, 0-1 in the Mountain West Falcon Stadium. And man, both teams coming off wake-up calls of sorts. We had Air Force as big favorites in a very difficult, tough loss at Wyoming. They couldn't move the ball on the ground. Brad Roberts, 54 yards on 17 carries. And then you have Nevada losing 27-0 to Iowa, and they could do nothing. 151 total yards, averaged 2.4 yards per play, 2.9 yards per pass attempt, 1.9 yards per rush. Absolutely terrible. And it's their Oklahoma State transfer, Shane Illingworth, who got the start at quarterback, 82 yards and a pick.
Can you believe that guy had the gall to say Mike Gundy's not giving me a fair shot at Oklahoma State? Said Spencer Sanders never, with him there, I never really got the look I felt I should have. Well, what the fuck are you doing with that look right now, Shane Illingworth? You've been absolutely terrible.
Sucks. Yeah. Fucking sucks dick.
Okay.
All right, Jose, backing me up on that.
Yeah, he was. Let's take a look at the line history here in this one, and then where the cash lies. We have it opening up Air Force minus 24.5. They're at minus 24, so a half-point move towards Nevada. From a total perspective, opened up at 48.5. It's now at 46.5, so it's dropped 2 points. John Kilpatrick looking at the under in this spot. Let's see where the cash lies. 13,567 tickets in, 45% of the tickets, 71% of the cash on Air Force, but a half-point move in the opposite direction. A lot of the big bets obviously feeling like Air Force is going to bounce back in a much more favorable situation. Then you have 74% of tickets on the over, but just 57% of the cash. So 26 and 43 to the under, and the market move to the under. It feels like the under is the sharp side. I can't wait to hear your breakdown. Take it away, Bobano, Nevada Air Force.
Lay the points. This is official for me. Air Force minus 24. This is going to be a rout, I think. Be careful about overreacting to that loss for Air Force last week. It's bad because we think Wyoming is not good this year. And I think Wyoming still, is not going to be a great football team. But sometimes one team and one coach has your number. And that is Craig Bohl in Wyoming when it comes to this Air Force team. His Wyoming teams have consistently shut down this triple option. And I can't explain why. I can't. But that has been a bit of an issue for Air Force over the years against Wyoming. That offense has struggled against Wyoming. And it did again last week in that massive upset. The loss against the Cowboys. I also need to stress that Air Force had a bunch of guys apparently sick, under the weather with the flu going into that game against Wyoming as well. That's maybe explains why they looked so lethargic. It didn't look like the Air Force offense we have seen all season last week at all. They had some guys under the weather, a team that's ended up, basically shutting down Air Force's offense repeatedly over the years, and it was a perfect storm. And Air Force had a really bad loss, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean all of a sudden we throw Air Force in the garbage can and all of a sudden it's a bad football team. Apparently they're healthier this week. They got the flu bug out of their system. And they welcome in a Nevada team that they played, 2 road games. They barely beat a bad New Mexico State team in their first road game, and then they got shut out by Iowa 27-0 last week. And keep in mind how bad of a spot this is for Nevada. The Nevada-Iowa game last Saturday, there was a long thunderstorm, lightning delay, and that game didn't end until like midnight Eastern time Saturday. It was a late finish to that game, a game that was supposed to be over like by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So you've got that late night in Iowa City, and now you're going on the road again to Colorado Springs for a Friday night on a short week. It's a brutal spot for Nevada, for a team that's not really any good anyway right now. Shane Illingworth, Jose jumped in and backed me up, and he's right. He's been terrible. The defense is probably going to be gassed. The defense totally wore down late in that game. Was it later than that? I said midnight. It might have been later than that. G. Martinez, you're right. But it was like very late Saturday night that Nevada-Iowa game ended. I think it might have been 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. You're right. So it's a brutal spot for Nevada. They're going on the road again from that late Saturday night in Iowa. Now they're going to Air Force. Air Force is pissed that they lost the last game. They're healthier this week. The triple option is going to be able to work. What did Air Force put up last year against Nevada? Oh, and that was a great Nevada team. That was Jay Norvell's Nevada team. That was Carson Strong Nevada team. And Air Force hung 41 points and 500 total yards, 476 on the ground against Nevada. And now Nevada's defense is completely depleted compared to what it was last year. Yeah. And look at, by the way, Air Force at home lately. That was in Wyoming. And you got to remember, Laramie, Wyoming is still not an easy place to play. And the Cowboys do play good football there. They beat Tulsa earlier this year at home. But now Air Force is back home. And look at these home results. 41-10 against Colorado, a cover. 48-17 against Northern Iowa, 31-point win again, another cover. That was their first game this season. Let's go back to last year, last home game, UNLV, another bottom-rung Mountain West team like we think Nevada will be this year. 48-14, a 34-point win for Air Force at home. They beat the hell out of mediocre to bad teams here on this home field. They're off a loss. They'll be focused. They'll be focused anyway because they're a service academy. That's the way they're wired. Air Force big here, in my opinion.
Air Force big for our guy Bobano. I found it -24 at -108. Let me know if you can beat that.
That's good. I think that's the best one I see too. Yep.
We have Ron Crawford spreadsheet play today on Air Force. Matty Ice moving on Air Force first quarter. Why do you think?
I wouldn't talk you out of first quarter, first half, but I want the full game because I think in the second half, the Iowa game, which took till like 1 a.m. to finish, and just how they wear on you, that Air Force triple option, that offensive line, they're just bowling you over with the run blocking scheme that they employ. You just wear them down physically in the second half. And because that's what we've seen this year. Northern Iowa, Colorado, those two games, they really wore down those two teams in the second half. Fourth quarter, there was poor open field tackling, missed tackles all over the place because it's just exhausting trying to defend this team that just leans on you for 4 quarters with that triple option. So that's why I don't mind the first half and first quarter. I think you got a pretty good chance there as well, but I prefer the full game because I want that part of the handicap where I think Nevada gets completely worn down and exhausted in the second half and the latter part of the game.
Air Force -24 at -108 for Bobano, and a lot of love for Air Force. Nobody has mentioned Nevada. Is Nevada's defense capable of slowing them down enough for the under to make sense here? Because there seems like there is some sharp action on the under. Can Nevada slow them down enough to keep the clock moving with Air Force's running game and get you to the under?
Well, it's definitely going to be, methodical pace from Air Force. We know that they're going to go slow, but I'm worried that this is like 40 points for Air Force. And if that's the case, you're only going to need maybe a touchdown from Nevada and the game goes over the total. It's tough with the total because I don't know how much Nevada is going to score. at all. I mean, they got shut out by Iowa's got a good defense, but they got totally shut down in that game. Illingworth's been terrible. And by the way, they gave up 27 points to Iowa last week, Nevada. That's bad for their defense. Their defense, that's why I'm worried about it. This is a Nevada team that had scored 7 against South Dakota State and 7 against Iowa State in their 2 previous games, and they put 27 up on Nevada. So this was a terrible Iowa offense, and they scored 27 against Nevada. So that's why the total to me could go either way. It's a coin flip total. That's why I'm not betting it.
Well, Lee pointed out that it did go down all the way to 45. So that was the bottom. Since then, it's gone back up to 46.5, but it opened at 48.5. So we have an interesting game here. For the Mountain West, we have Bobano on Air Force, minus 24. We have Ron Crawford, NCAA spreadsheet play of the day on Air Force. And then we have Gambler's First Glance on the under 47 in this one. Billy Friedrich says, "Where the Cash Lies" could be a great title for your memoirs. I like it.
I honestly lean over in that Nevada game, Air Force, but it's just a 6-1 to the over Air Force. But I much prefer the side.
26% of tickets, 43% of cash on that under, and then 43% of tickets and 70% of cash on Air Force. So very interesting stuff. Now, Flash, I'm looking at the team total over for Air Force, and that is where we stand. And there's Dabby Cab, 6-1 right now in his last 7 NCAA football bets, and you can find him tonight. Virginia, Syracuse, hosting our big show here on Pub Sports Radio. Let's talk about the last game on the board tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. Boise State Broncos of the UTEP Miners in the Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas. An opportunity for these UTEP Miners to get some primetime coverage here. It might not go well for them. These teams met last year in Boise, and Boise State won 54-13. Boise State coming off beating FCS UT Martin 30-7 at home last night. Bachmeyer starting to look stronger again, 18-25, 204 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. Halani ran for 110 yards on 24 carries. UTEP lost 27-10 on the road against New Mexico. But they committed 7 turnovers. They outgained the Lobos. And Gavin Hardison threw 3 picks and the fumbleitis throughout the whole game. So it's a very interesting situation here. Let me just set a quick table for the line before Bobano breaks it down for us. For Boise State, UTEP, we have Boise opening up minus 16.5. That's where they stand right now. This did go to 15.5. So there's some people that think that there is a nice price on UTEP at home. From a total perspective, it opened up at 46.5. It's now at 45, juiced to the under. And when we go over to the cash flow in this one, 16,354 tickets in, 31% of the tickets and 72% of the cash on UTEP. Market moving towards them. 58% of tickets and 94% of the cash on the under. So sharp money on UTEP and the under, and we've seen the under moved 1.5 to the under, and we've seen no movement towards Boise. Take it away for us, Bobano. Does UTEP have a chance in the Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas tonight?
I would have thought for sure before the season, this number, this matchup, and getting almost 17 with UTEP, I'd be looking at UTEP here, but they've been so bad on offense. They've been terrible. I mean, what has happened to this quarterback? What has happened to this offense? I'll tell you what's happened. The O-line's not as good. The receiving core, they had some great receivers. One of them was great, and he transferred out. Cowling was one of the receivers, and he's gone, and there is no rhythm or continuity or cohesion in this passing game at all. It is a broken passing attack. And if they can't run the football, UTEP, their offense just doesn't do anything. I mean, it's been brutal so far. 13 points against a North Texas defense that's been pretty bad at times. 13 against Oklahoma, only 20 against a bad New Mexico State team, 10 points against New Mexico last week. It's been awful for UTEP offensively. I mean, terrible. 122nd running the football. Oh, and you know what the problem is with that? They're going up against the 13th ranked run defense in the country, Boise State, 76.3 rushing yards per game. So I don't think this offense is going to work all that well. The one thing Boise State has played pretty well on so far this year is defense. So I think that's going to be tricky for UTEP to get much going offensively. Boise State in this game, I'm not ready to lay 16 with their offense either. I mean, Hank Bachmeier's, he's played a little bit better. Remember, the last game was against Tennessee Martin. Don't put too much stock into that. He did put up 31 points against New Mexico. It probably was his best game, but he still only had 170 passing yards. It's probably a situation where they relied a little bit more on the run game there. But, you look at this matchup here, Boise will move the ball a little bit, but they're not still the kind of team where I'm saying, they're going to put up, 40s in this game. Now, last year they did against UTEP, but they only had 461 yards, 54 points. There were some defensive scores as well. There were some points off turnovers last year that led to Boise putting up 54 points in the game against UTEP last year. I look at it. There's some trends here that say under 4-0 in the last 4 Boise non-conference games. UTEP, has been a dead nuts under team this year. All 4 UTEP games have gone under the total so far this year. So Noli knows you wanted some unders from me. I said I lean Virginia Syracuse under. I'm not only leaning Boise State UTEP under, I'm making this official because I can get 45.5 here at ProLine, and that's what we're going to use here. 45.5 here, minus 106. Man, I love that book because they have these off-market numbers, and sometimes they're in your favor, and they are here with this total because it's really 44.5, 45 in a lot of other spots. But ProLine Plus has it 45.5 right now at actually minus 112, 45.5, minus 112. I like it. Let's go under 45.5, Boise State UTEP minus 112.
I like it too. Do you think that there's a possibility that after UTEP had the fumbleitis and all the issues last week, maybe they were looking ahead at this spot? But do you think that it's possible that the first half is the under spot, that Boise State could wear them down? Like UTEP would not stop being able to, if UTEP can't run the ball at all, that might show more in the second half. Do you think it's a mistake that I'm thinking I would prefer first half under rather than full game?
No, it's possible, but what I've seen out of Boise State with a big lead is take the air out of the football, run the clock. So it doesn't concern me too much. And if you look at UTEP's games so far this year, it's not like the scoring has picked up dramatically in the second half in a lot of their games this year. So I'd be okay with full game. If you want to split it up, do what I do often in baseball. And of course, baseball is coming up, but first 5 full game split, that's something I do very often. You could do a first half full game split with the total here if you want to be a little bit safer. I wouldn't talk you out of that, but I'm going to keep it all full game.
All right. I've got some things. And let me ask you this, other than the fact that they outgained the Lobos by 54. Why do you think sharp money? Could you give me an angle for why sharp money's on UTEP?
Spot maybe. It's Boise's going back into Mountain West play next week. Are they really got their eyes on the prize, if you will, on this game against UTEP, a team they already beat badly last year, 54-13. There are situationally there are some reasons to like UTEP here because Boise's got San Diego State at home next week and Fresno and Air Force after that. That's 3 pretty good Mountain West teams right there. Are they focused, on a team that they already beat the hell out of last year? That's the question. For UTEP, I know they'll be excited. They're at home. It's a TV game. I think it's CBS Sports Network, if I'm not mistaken, that has this game. And it's a rare TV showcase for them. The problem is their offense ain't any good. And that's why I prefer the under as opposed to UTEP.
I feel like I'm going to move on both of them here. I love the look ahead against San Diego State. I love your look on the under. I love breaking this down. I love breaking all of college football down. We've had spectacular experts join the show, and that's the reason why my record is the way it is. It's because I don't bet when I don't have one of these guys like Bobano on the show. I just stay off, and it's been working. Let's review all NCAA football action here. We have Bobano has some Syracuse in his pocket, but he's not making it an official pick on the show. Then he's on Air Force -24, -108. Spreadsheet play today is Air Force -24. And Gambler's First Glance is Nevada Air Force under 47 from Razor Sharp Picks. Then we have the under 45.5 from Bobano, and I'm leaning on that and UTEP. That's going to take me a little longer. Brandon the Great, thank you for your kind words. Says, my favorite sports channel. Keep up the good work, guys. Thank you, all of you guys.
I see a 17 on UTEP. If that's a big if, but if I were to see a 17 on UTEP, maybe a shekel or two on the minors at that number, but only if I see it.
I get it. I respect it. Let's move on to MLB Bobano, and I can't wait to break down this card. I've never been running better, and I don't feel like it's a luck situation here with MLB. I just feel like we're just locked in right now. And I expect the winning to continue. We went 7-2 yesterday. Hit the Rangers -1, Kansas City first 5 +105, Minnesota KC first 5 under 4.5, San Francisco Colorado under 11. Started 4-0 with the morning games. Then lost Pittsburgh first 5 and lost Boston first 5. So then we're sitting 4-2, and maybe it won't be such a great night. But the Guardians took care of business. First 5 -0.5, full game -1. And
I was on Cleveland. That's a dead team walking. You just keep going up to the window and going against that White Sox team right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm interested in what will happen today. And again, I make no bets before we talk everything out here. I don't care if I bet it at a wrong or at a worse line anymore. All of the things that I thought I was going to do in MLB have changed. It's all about us working together. And if it's a worse line, I don't care because I stay off spots that I would have bet before. And then Arizona Dodgers first 5 under 3.5 was just a fucking gift. All right, let's get rolling, Bobano, and we start. Let me move over here. We go. 6:35 p.m. Eastern, Chicago Cubs at Pittsburgh Pirates. We're at PNC Park in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We will start with the weather here. Let me move over here and get it for you. Start with the weather. But I had some friends go down to Pittsburgh for the Blue Jay series, and they just couldn't say enough positive things about the facility. They just were in love with PNC Park. They couldn't say enough positive things about the city. They just were, they absolutely loved it. 63 Fahrenheit at first pitch, 8.1 miles per hour out. So it's getting chillier, but the wind's blowing out in a pitcher's ballpark. Let's move over to the line history here in this one. And sorry, it's taking me a second just to move over here. And here we go. So Javier Assad going up against Bryce Wilson. We have it opening up with these Cubbies at -110. There's been a 14-cent move to the Pirates. So the Pirates have gone from a +102 to now a -112 at Pinnacle. But they got up to -118. They got up to -118 at 8:36 in the morning. So I imagine when we look at the cash flow, there's going to be big bets in on Pittsburgh. This total opened up at 8 -101 to the under. It's now at 8 -100 to the under. And this got up to -112 to the under at 8:54 a.m. So the late money. And wow, this got up to 8.5. This jumped up to 8.5 between 1 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. Then to 8. And now there's more money coming in on the over. So let's see if the cash flow correlates with all of – oh, here it is right in front of me. Sorry, my bad. Here we go. We have just 2,900 tickets in. There's not a lot of tickets in on these games right now. You have 71% of the tickets, 74% of the cash on the Cubs, and the market's moving towards the Pirates. I've lost a ton of money on Bryce Wilson. I've actually – the reason why is I cashed with Bryce Wilson at home maybe 6 weeks ago, and I've gone back since and lost. And then you have 20% of the tickets, 34% of the cash on the under. So you have 80% of the tickets on the over, and it went up to 8.5 and then came back down to 8. Assad coming off a very ugly start in a 4-3 home loss to the Rockies, 2 innings, 2 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 homer, 3 Ks, sitting with a 3.86 ERA, 1.54 whip on the year. Now that's just 23 1/3. I'll pull up his minor league stats while Bobano's breaking things down, because I know we've gone over them a couple starts back from him. Bryce Wilson at home has a 6.57 ERA, and opponents are hitting 300 against him. He's got a 6.07 ERA overall, so it's not like he's that much better on the road. His last start at the Mets, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 homer, 5 Ks, 2 walks. I was on the first 5 under, and it blew up in my face. Cubs versus righties, 225, 652 OPS. Pirates versus righties, 221, 661 OPS. Neither team can hit righties, and both bullpens are bad. Cubs bullpen last 30, 5.01 ERA, 1.45 stats. All of the team stats I'll give out throughout the whole show will be last 30 days. Pirates bullpen, 5.88 ERA, 1.62 whip over the last 30. Take it away, Bobano. Pirates, Cubs.
Wow. Oh, man. I want to bet another Bryce Wilson over, because that's something that I've been doing quite a bit this year. Don't love what these lineups are doing, unfortunately. So I'm wondering if I will or not. But it's the only way I would bet it. Certainly is over the total. Assad's actually trended under, but he hasn't necessarily been as good the last few starts. He got roughed up by the Rockies in his last start, only lasted 2 innings. And then Cincinnati got to him as well. 4 runs, 5 hits, 5.1 innings. Did have one good outing against the Mets in between, but is he going to shut down Pittsburgh completely? Maybe, because Pittsburgh's not hitting. But I know one thing's for sure. Bryce Wilson's not someone I'm looking to back. You mentioned the 6.57 ERA, terrible. He's usually good for at least 3 runs allowed. Many starts 4 runs allowed, and with a total of 8, it's all it's going to take here, maybe for this game to push over the total. So definitely strongly leaning in that direction, but this is going to be one of those I'm going to chew on it for a bit longer, and if I add it at the end of the show, I'll do it at that time.
Javier Assad was excellent this year in the minors. Excuse me, man. He was very, very good. Just turned 25 from Tijuana, Mexico. This year, he spent some time in AA Tennessee and was just lights out. 4-1, 2.5.
I probably should lean to the Cubs too, and I do, because Pittsburgh's not hitting. I'm not a Bryce Wilson guy, so I would lean to the Cubs side as well.
I don't know what to do with Javier at this point. Maybe we can light something up here. So in AA, 2.51 ERA. A 1.34 whip. He went up to AAA and was even better. That's always a key sign for me when pitcher can be even better in AAA. It just means to me that they're ready. 1.04 whip up in AAA. Joe Yerger says when you have a minus 120 home team and a total of 8, the books are saying flip a damn coin. TJ says everything conflicts here. Neither team can hit. Both pens suck. I'm staying off. So me when the Pittsburgh Pirates are in play, especially at home, I think first 5 under. But I can understand that there's enough question marks here. Now we have Bryce Wilson, who just allowed 4 earned runs at the Mets. But this is such an easier task facing this Cubs team at home than it is facing the Mets. The Cubs are hitting 225, 652 OPS right now in the last 30 versus righties. I'm going to pull up Bryce's last few games to see if there's any way I could have any confidence here moving on that first 5 under. Again, 20% of the tickets are on the under and 34% of the cash. It just feels like one of those spots where the public is going to lose money, in my estimation. Let's just take a quick look at Bryce Wilson and his recent start. So Bryce has had 1 home start in his last at least 5. Let's see more of these. And it didn't go very well. And it was against the Mets. So against the Mets, he goes 6 innings, allows 4 earned runs. They're a tough team. And then, he's had all road starts. Then he faces Cincinnati at home, and he has a great quality start. 3 earned runs in 7 innings. Before that, 3 earned runs in 5 1/3. Why wouldn't North Ender says, love me a bum fight, but got to pass here. Jonathan Yim, great to see you. It's exciting what Judge is doing. It's good for baseball. Ray looking at Pirates first 5 plus a half. Ray, I really warn against turning now I know they're the favorite now, but they opened up as a dog and now they're a favorite, and now you're going to make them an even bigger favorite. I really think that I really don't think you should, unless Ray, unless you're going to bet 10K. If you're making a huge bet on it, then sure. But if you're just betting your average unit size, I really think that it's a mistake, because right now, if I was to bet the Pirates first 5 minus a half with my guy, actually, wow, that's not so bad. Why is that? That can't be. Feels like this is a mistake. This has got to be a mistake. First 5 minus a half is the plus 100, and the Pirates first 5. Sorry. I'm looking at the wrong. Sorry, I'm barely sleeping right now. First 5 plus half is minus 190. It's just, you can't. If you're making moves on minus 190 spots, you're going to put yourself in a situation where you have to cash too many to find any success. And dogs are dogs for a reason. And I know that now we're talking about a slight favorite, but I mean, if you want to hit a minus 190, then you're going to have to hit 66% to turn the tiniest profit. You hit 72% for a tiny, tiny profit. Okay. Let's move on. Yeah, I hear you. I don't. Yeah. Okay. That's all. It's all good. We don't need to agree on betting strategy and stuff like that. But you'll hear me say all the time, never turn a dog into a favorite, and the market's already done that. I legitimately think that the first 5 under is a chance in this one. It's at 4 plus money. It's probably not worth it. So I'm going to put a bunch of question marks beside it. All right, let's move on. 6:40 p.m. Eastern, we have Milwaukee Brewers at Cincinnati Reds. Brewers at Reds. And we have our friend Matty Ice's look on the Brewers' first 5 minus a half. Shout out to Matty Ice. Great American Ballpark, 68 Fahrenheit, 2.8 miles per hour left to right. It's getting cold across North America. It's football season. Let's take a look at the line history here. Oh, sorry, pull too many things up. Here we go. The line history in this spot. Brewers, Reds, Eric Lauer going up against Mike Minor. We have Lauer in the Brewers opening up at minus 159, and there's been a 7-cent move towards a minus 166. From a total perspective, they opened up at 9 as a pick'em, and there's been a 3-cent move to the under. Lauer is making his first start off the IL. He had an elbow issue. So it's the first day that he's eligible to return, which will tell you that the elbow issue wasn't that big. He had no rehab starts or anything like that. He threw a second bullpen session on Tuesday in preparation. So this is his first start since September 7th. And they don't think that he's going to go long enough to qualify for the win. That's what they were talking about, that they're expecting probably 4 innings max if he's rolling comfortably here. Lauer has been great this year, 10-7, 3.91 ERA, 1.25, but he's not been great on the road. 5-5, 4.69 ERA, 242 opponent's batting average. We don't need to talk about too much about Lauer's last start, because obviously he was dealing with the elbow of some kind. Not bad enough to be out for too long, but 2 2/3, 7 earned runs. Wasn't a good spot. It was in Colorado. He got lit up in smoke. Move on to Mike Minor. It looked like he was starting to pitch better, and then he fell off last start. 5-1 loss at the Cardinals. But he's shown some signs of pitching better at times. But look at his numbers at home. 0-8, 6.22 ERA, 284 opponents batting average. And the Brewers are hitting lefties right now. 237, 738 OPS. The Reds are hitting lefties. 240, 735 OPS. Brewers bullpen is bad. 4.67 ERA, 1.26 WHIP. Reds bullpen has been quite a bit better for a lot of this season. 3.68 ERA, 1.38 WHIP. Take it away for us, Bobano. Taint is on Brewers first 5 minus a half. What do you think of Brew Crew at the Reds?
Yeah, I'm going to go with this over. Well, I got 8.5 on it. Shit, and it's 9 now. Well, we'll have to do 9. Actually, 8.5 that's too much juice. I'm not doing minus 132. on over 8.5.
A little
Over
touch on
9.
that. Sorry, Bobano. For the total, I didn't give you guys the ticket count. 63% of tickets are on the over, but just 35% of the cash. So there has been a 3-cent move to the under, and there had been a bigger one before. I didn't realize that there were 8.5s on the board earlier. And then you have 10% of the tickets on the Reds and 55% of the cash. So tons of sharp money on the Reds. Sorry, I meant to add that in. Take it away, Boban.
I got to cut down the juice. I mean, I did bet 8.5, and it was minus 120, and then it just rose this morning. But we'll do over 9 minus 104 at Pinnacle, and hopefully we get to 10. But there's always a big difference asking for 9 runs, asking for 10 runs. But I think we could still get it. You mentioned it. Both teams are hitting lefties. Lauer's last start that's the start where his left elbow popped, and he had to go on the IL after that. And he'll be back tonight. He'll probably be better, but he's not going to pitch deep. Milwaukee bullpen's not been nearly as good either. So that factored into it as well for me, where I think you could see, 4.85 ERA, Jimmy, the last 10 games for the Brewer bullpen. It's not been good. So Cincinnati can do some damage, I think, after Lauer leaves the game. And you mentioned it. Brewers are hitting lefties. Mike Minor's a horrible lefty. Yeah, he had a couple little glimpses of hope at about a month ago, and then the last 2 starts have been dreadful here for him. The last 2, just back to the old Mike Minor. So 0-10, by the way, are the Reds in Mike Minor's 10 home starts this year. The Reds have not won a baseball game this year with Mike Minor at home pitching. So I see what Matty Ice is doing with liking the Brewers here. I certainly lean Milwaukee too, but I like the total more, over 9.
Over 9. What was the juice you got? Minus 103?
Minus 103, Pinnacle, yep.
Minus 103 for Bobano. This game, a lot of question marks all over it, and I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable following the sharp money here because it doesn't correlate with any of my feelings in this game. So I'm going to stay off it. But Domigan also on the over. He got it at 8.5, just like Bobano. And again, the difficulty of when our guests do the show is that they have to give us spots that are available right now. It's very, very difficult. MDR also looking at the Milwaukee first 5 minus a half. Nothing for me. Let's move on. 6:40 p.m. Eastern. Washington Nationals 52-97, 28-47 on the road. The Miami Marlins 61-89, 30-45 at home. We're at Lone Depot Park in Miami, Florida. Josiah Gray going up against Braxton Garrett. Here we have another pitcher who was on the IL. We have a lot of IL. He was on the IL for an oblique injury for 15 days, and then he has a start. And the start goes okay. And we know that Braxton Garrett is a highly thought of pitcher in the organization of Miami. 2-6, 3.68 ERA, 1.19 whip on the year. And he was optioned to the minors right after it. They're throwing in the flag. They don't care about winning right now. But then Trevor Rogers went on the IL, and they brought Garrett back up. So that's why Garrett is in this game. Let's take a look at the line history here. We have Josiah Gray, Braxton Garrett. Josiah Gray, I've lost. I would, if I picked out all the Josiah Gray starts, I haven't bet him now in a while. He's cost me money. This opened up with the Marlins at minus 125. They're now minus 128. So a 3-cent move towards them. From a total standpoint, this opened at 7 juice to the under, and it's come back. There's an 8-cent move to the over. When we take a look at the cash flow in this Marlins Nats spot, just 643 tickets in. So that's not even the initial tickets are on Garrett, and the initial tickets are slightly on the over, but we don't have no idea about the cash right now. Gray's last start, 5-4 win at home versus these very Marlins. 5 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 4 Ks, 3 walks. He's not to be trusted. We used to trust him on the road. We've stopped doing that. His splits are still much better on the road because of that 5-0 start he got on, but he's lost his last 2 decisions on the road. 3.96 ERA, 221 opponents batting average. The Nats hit lefties, 252, 705 OPS. Marlins are hitting righties, 226, 17 OPS. Those are the last 30. And then the Nats bullpen has been good. 3.48 ERA, 1.22 whip. Marlins bullpen being very bad. 4.87 ERA, 1.60 whip. Take it away for us. This is another tricky one. Can you shine some light on it? Nats, fish.
I can't. I want no part of it here. I mean, Josiah Gray should be better. I've said that than he's been, and it's just one disappointment after another. I mean, what's he given up? 14 runs in his last 13 innings. Home runs. You can't keep the ball in the park. He's even struggled against the Marlins. The last 2 starts against them, he's given up 10 runs in 10 innings against Miami. So I can't trust him. If it is Braxton Garrett on the mound after being recalled from Jacksonville, he was sent down last week, but expected at least last we looked to get a start here. 3.68 ERA at the major league level this year, which isn't terrible. And so it makes me kind of lean Miami here, but am I laying $140 at this stage of the year with a losing record team like Miami? No, even though Garrett might have an edge here. So it's a very easy pass.
I think that there's a legitimate edge with Garrett. Do you think Josiah Gray has more to show the Marlins after that start against them a week ago? I know that we believe in the zigzag theory, but I don't know if I do here. I'm very close to moving on the Marlins first 5 -1/2. And Dami, I don't trust the Gray splits anymore. I really don't. Let's just move over to them quickly. We'll pull them up here. I mean, I've already given you guys the splits, but let's just look at his last few road starts and pinpoint them, because I just don't. I no longer trust them anywhere. We're gonna have to.
Yeah, he got smashed. Not smashed by the Dodgers, but they hit him. Philly crushed him on the road.
238, 704, and this Guardians bullpen has been so good for so long. We're at Globe Life Field. Let's take a look at the line history here first at Globe Life in Texas. And we have these Guardians opening up -100, now they're +108. So a 9-cent move to the Rangers. I've cashed on them the last 2 days on the -1 line. This total's gone from 8 down to 7.5. Let's see if the sharp money is following this. Yes, this is a one spot on the entire card where they give full line value, and it's towards the Texas Rangers. 37% of tickets, 45% of cash. It's a 50-50 on the total, but 63% cash on the over, and it's dropping to the under. Are the Guardians going to let their foot off the gas a little bit now that they just completely shut down the White Sox? Bobano, take it away. Cleveland, Texas.
Yeah, I'm on Cleveland. I might be walking into one because that's the exact thing that I'm concerned about. And maybe the betting markets think this way as well, that, they just basically sealed the division, essentially sweeping the Chicago White Sox. And I've been on Cleveland in the last couple of games. After they lost that opener, that they had to win the White Sox with Dylan Cease on the mound, that heartbreaker in extra innings, which against Cleveland, that first game, I said, I'm fading the Chicago White Sox every day moving forward. That's it. Stick a fork in them. They're done. And they didn't respond at all in the 2 games after that. Lethargic, not sharp, errors in the field, all that stuff. And Cleveland essentially locked up the AL Central in a playoff spot with that sweep. So I am worried about the spot a little bit. There's no question that maybe it's a flat spot. Maybe it's a letdown. And usually I don't buy into letdown spots in baseball, but this could be one where a letdown spot makes sense. But at the end of the day, it's John Gray, they're 0-4 in his last 4 starts. They haven't been winning for him. He's not been necessarily all that good. And you mentioned Cody Morris. He is pitching good, especially the last couple starts for Cleveland. So, and you're getting Cleveland as an under. They're better than Texas. We know that. It feels like it's a great price on Cleveland. It feels also, though, like I could be walking right into one here, AKA the dreaded 4-letter T word trap, maybe, because you got Cleveland feeling good. And essentially, it's not official that they've won the division, but they basically won the division with the sweep against Chicago. Maybe they fall flat here. I'm still going to back Cleveland, though, full game money line.
Okay, I will do some line shopping for you. We're back on YouTube. For those of you who joined us over on Twitter, thank you. But this is what you missed. It was the Phillies Braves, was it? Or was it the Nats Marlins? I think it was the Phillies Braves, but I'm going to move
Phillies
on.
First 5. Yeah, that's what you took. Yeah.
I'm going to move on the Phillies first 5 -1/2. There's been a huge market move towards them. Huge. And so, obviously I'm late to the party here, but I do believe that Philadelphia is going to that there's a reason why the market had to move so drastically in their direction. Both pitchers seeing their opponents a second time. Bobano then moved on the over 7.5 in Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, Rich Hill versus Garrett Cole. We stayed off Astros, Orioles, and then Bobano doubled up on the Rays first 5 -1/2 and full game -1. I had to stay off it because the market's not moving towards the Rays, and I don't know why they aren't. Why would you not be concerned? Some of the bigger bets are coming in on the Rays, and I don't understand why they wouldn't be concerned there, and they're not, and that just threw me for a loop.
See, that's interesting. Jimmy just pointed out why he's cautious and maybe not going on the Rays with this, that the money should be pouring in more. The price should be going up more on Tampa Bay. It's clearly something that's working for him, maybe because he's doing very well in MLB. And yet I couldn't give a fig about any of that shit. So that's the fascinating part.
Yeah, it's fun.
But incorporating those curious line moves or non-line moves is something that's helped you this year. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and it makes it fun. The different styles capping together is great fun and great fodder for conversation. And it's the same. It's a very similar thing here with Cleveland, Texas. I don't know. I'm scared about Cleveland playing that emotional series and shutting down this, the team that's been dominating the division for a while.
But Billy and TJ are making me feel better about still taking Cleveland because, as Billy says, the magic number's still 5. They haven't clinched anything yet. And if you're Cleveland, don't you want to get this done? Don't you want to get this division clinched as soon as possible? And then maybe you can get a little rest down the stretch and go before the playoffs. So you don't want to be clinching like the last day or two of the season if you can avoid it. And TJ, same thing, no foot off the gas. And they're red hot. They are a red hot baseball team. They're playing well. They're pitching well, timely hits. You know what I love about this Cleveland team, Jimmy? You've watched them a lot, I'm sure. They're not a big power team, but they run the bases well. They move guys over. They'll ground ball to move a guy over to third base. They steal bases. They're so fundamentally sound. And Terry Francona is probably a big part of that.
Also with news, it's not going to be Mike Minor pitching for the Reds today. They're going with Luis Cessa. So maybe we'll re-look at that spot at the very end, Bobano, because that will no longer.
Will I keep the over or not now? Is the question.
Yeah, we'll have to ask. So Matty Ice's taint is also affected there. So I'm gonna delete those two spots. But
welcome to baseball in late September. There's going to be a lot of last-minute pitching changes.
And it's funny that we talk about this, and I know we've got to keep moving through the show, but what you talk about, because the great Teddy Covers said this exact same thing as you. He doesn't care. He's like, don't focus on your capping. Focus on your capping. He would repeat that over and over again. I haven't had any guest come on the show and say, no, focus on the line movement. It's funny
but taking it into serious account for you has helped you and improved you in baseball, right? So there you go.
Yeah,
that's why you got to do it.
But I mean, across the board, the last 8 months are the best 8 months of my career. I mean, it's just now look, you've had a giant start to the NFL season without it. So I mean, obviously, it's not necessary for you to succeed. But 33-4 I am right now. It's just stupid. Now, look, we could come back here in 2 weeks and I'll be 33-20. It could change quickly. But
it can.
And Sharp, as Joe Yerger said, Sharps lose too. Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And look, I think one of the fun things about this is it's almost a test that you guys are watching. It's like an experiment that you guys get to watch, and you don't have to lose money on it. So. But let's line shop here for the Guardians for our guy Bobano. Sorry, move over to money line, and the best line we can get you here for the Guardians is a plus 108 plus 110. Plus 110 at Bet365. That work for you?
Oh yeah, that does. Very good. Yep, we'll take that.
Okay, plus 110. Locked in for the Guardians. Okay. Thank you, TJ. Yeah, it's all about succeeding and however you do it. And Joe Yerger says Sharps really don't cap games like we do here. I think some do, but that's Okay. And North Ender says as long as you're tracking your bets and winning long term, whatever works for you. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Okay, we move on. That was Guardians, Rangers. We move on to Angels, Minnesota Twins, Target Field, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Shohei Ohtani going up against Louis Varland, and we don't think this game will go off at this point. There's bad weather. Let's see if it's in red here. And yes, it's in red. This is not expected to be played. Let me just take a look at swish and see if it's not expected. They don't have a possible delay or rain out. Funny because they do not have a possible delay or rain out, but possible light rain becomes rain. This does not look good. This does not look good. We'll just do a quick look at the line history just so at least we'll have done our due diligence in this one. Ohtani versus Louis Varland. We have the Angels opening up -150, then now -157, a 7-cent move towards them. This total opened up at 7.5 and has moved to 7. I'm sure that's weather related. Ohtani coming off a brilliant start and a 2-1 win at home over the Mariners. Been very good on the road, 2.96 ERA, 217 opponents batting average. And then Varland coming off 5-1 loss at Cleveland. I mean, I'll pull up his rookie number, his minor league numbers, because that will help us break them down. Twins aren't doing anything. They're not hitting righties. Their bullpen isn't good. They've just let go. And,
They've let go of the rope. Yeah.
It's going to cost Rocco his job. So let's just see if there's any sharp money anywhere here. It's only 1,500 tickets in. This game probably doesn't go. We don't need to spend too much time, but 9% of the tickets, 73% of cash on the Twins. So maybe they think that if the game does go, Ohtani won't start because of the weather. 44% of tickets, 89% cash on the over. Take it away, Bobano.
Yeah, it's Angels or pass. I mean, the Twins are unbackable. Twins will not be a team I bet the rest of the season. You can and you can throw the White Sox in that category as well. These are two teams in this Central Division that both expected that they had teams good enough to be in the playoffs. Neither one are. Both teams are veteran teams. It's even harder for the teams that miss the playoffs that are veteran teams. At least with Baltimore, they're not going to make it, but they're a younger team. They're still playing. They're still, trying to win. You get that sense when you got Rutschman and you've got Gunnar Henderson and you've got all these young prospects. I don't sense that with Minnesota. I don't sense that with the White Sox. These are veteran teams that expected to be in the playoffs, and they're just disheartened and just absolutely crestfallen, both of them, that they're not in the playoffs now, and they're playing like it. Lethargic, bad baseball, errors in the field, both of them. Yeah, Angels are nothing. I don't think this game gets played. They're calling for heavy rain most of the night. So, but if it were to get played, it would be Angels or nothing. It'd probably be a first 5 full game split type of game for me.
Well, we'll see if it pops off. If it does, I'll reach out. We have Tigers, White Sox next up. 63 Fahrenheit at first pitch, 8.1 miles per hour in, gets up to 8.7 miles per hour in. We'll take a look at the line history here in this one. We have Rodriguez versus Giolito. We have opening up with the White Sox -168, now -173, a 5-cent move towards the White Sox. From a total perspective, it opened up at 7.5 and has dropped to 7. I said Detroit, sorry. Because Detroit White Sox, but it's an ugly night in the south side of Chicago. Rodriguez just faced these White Sox and beat them in a 4-3 extra inning. Lost in extras, 4-3 at home. But he had a great start. 2 earned runs over 6 1/3. Feels like he's making up for lost time. On the road, 4.26 ERA, 233 opponents batting average. Going up against Giolito, who had a nice start in the Tigers, and he also lost in extra innings. It wasn't the same game. He's been so bad this year at home, 6.61 ERA, 313 opponents batting average. The White Sox smash lefties right now, 294, 884 over the last 30. The Tigers aren't hitting righties, 226, 656 last 30. And then the White Sox bullpen has finally started pitching well. Finally. Absolutely. It took them all year to start pitching well, and they are 3.51 ERA, 1.13 whip. Tigers bullpen has been struggling. We'll take a look at the cash flow here. 4,362 tickets in. 33% of tickets, 51% of cash on the Tigers, but the moves towards the White Sox. Interesting. And then 22% of tickets, but 43% cash on the under. And that is, we've seen that they take note because it's gone from 7.5 to 7. What do you do here, Bobano?
I'm just throwing out the pitching stats. Maybe Giolito pitches well, maybe Erod doesn't. And you did mention that the White Sox are hitting lefties pretty good. I chuck that all in the garbage can at this time of year. Chicago looks like a dead team. I'm always interested now moving forward, fading them at prices like this. I'm going to go Detroit, first 5 full game money line split for the big plus price. I've been doing this lately with a bunch of teams. I did it with Detroit, I think recently too. It was Kansas City against Minnesota. They were getting a good plus price in a bunch of those games and cashed multiple times. Detroit against Baltimore, that's the one a few days ago. Plus price the first 2 games of that series they won. Detroit, they haven't completely mailed it in. Whereas Chicago, again, we talked about Minnesota, veteran team, expected to be in the playoffs. It's beyond disappointing. It's a horrible underachievement by the entire White Sox team to not be in the playoffs. Giolito and his home ERA is terrible. Like, I have concerns about Eduardo Rodriguez. He hasn't been great either, but Giolito's been bad at home. Chicago in this price range, I'm always interested fading them. If you're going to price Chicago every game the rest of the way minus 175, I'll be on them most times, unless there's some extreme circumstance that would concern me. So Detroit first 5 full game split.
I got a plus 145 for you first 5 and a plus 160 full games. That work?
That's good.
Locked in for Bobano. I'm going to stay off here. If the market was moving towards the Tigers, I would jump in right with you. But it is strange that that's not happening, but I agree completely with the breakdown. Let's move on. We have just a few games left here on the card. Next up, we have 8:10 p.m.
What is
Eastern
this Canada soccer shit that people are updating? Is it they're playing some tune-up match? They must be for the
against mighty Qatar.
Oh yeah,
the host of the World Cup. It's going to be a fun World Cup. Let's talk about this spot. Padres, Rockies, Coors Field in Denver, Colorado. We cashed the under. It's amazing what a big part weather plays in this Coors Field, because it was all weather-based play yesterday. And now it's warmed up and it's beautiful. 83 Fahrenheit at first pitch, goes down to 75 and 7.3 miles per hour in between 6.4 and 7.3 all game long. Let's take a look at the line history here. In this one, Minaya versus Feltner. And we have, let's go over here. The Padres opening up at minus 142. They're now minus 157. A 15-cent move towards them. Wow, I did not expect to see that. And then from a total perspective, it opened up at 11.5 and is now dropped to 11. This surprises me. Then
that's a curious move, because I think this is a slugfest tonight.
Yeah, I would. This is and maybe it's just a recency bias. Then we have half line value. So Sports Insights. I'm going to refresh this and see. But at this point, Sports Insights indicates that this is the second most valuable spot on the board. Now they're giving Rodriguez and the Tigers at 2. Wow. 33. Yeah, wow. So Rodriguez and the Tigers are now second. Third is Feltner and the Rockies. 18% of the tickets, 21% of cash on them. Then 31% of tickets, 92% cash on the under. Huge bets coming in on the under. Minaya looked a little better in a 4-0 loss at Arizona, but Arizona can't hit lefties at all right now. Their OPS last 30 is under 6. I mean, they look awful. Under 600, I should say. The last start for Minaya, 2 earned runs, 5 innings. On the road this year, he's been terrible. 6.10 ERA, 269 points batting average. He's been terrible all year for the Padres. It seems like the Padres pick up baseball players and they underachieve. 5.18 ERA, 1.33 whip. Feltner, 6.05 ERA, 1.44 whip on the year. He's coming off a decent start in the 4-3 win at the Cubs. He went 5 1/3, allowed 3 earned runs. At home, he's been so bad. 6.27 ERA, 247 opponent's batting average. Padres are not hitting righties at all. 225, 667 OPS. And the Rockies, I got to pull up their numbers versus lefties, because I knew that a lot of cappers that I respect were always moving on them at home against the lefty of late. And
not lately, though. Yeah, not as good, though, lately, the Rockies against lefties.
Yeah, let's see what that is here. I've got it right here. So versus left-handed pitching last 30 days update. And the Rockies over the last 30 days are hitting 247 with a 721 OPS. You're absolutely right, Bobano. Absolutely right. North Anderson's line drop to 11. Stay away from that over. This would have to be an under now, because whenever I see these spots, and this is also a vividness thing, when I see these spots with these ERAs that are like astronomical and the being bet towards the under, I just did that with Heasley in the game Jose went to, but that had Waka in it too, I believe. Waka versus Heasley. But there no runs were scored in the first 5. So Padres aren't hitting righties. Rockies are hitting lefties worse, and both bullpens have been bad, especially the Padres bullpen. And North Ender's already on the under. Wow, take it away for us, Bobano. Padres, Rockies.
Yeah, I mean, the first thought was over because of Minaya and Feltner. Their DRAs are brutal, but neither team's hitting, and especially the splits involved. Colorado ain't hitting lefties. Padres aren't hitting righties. Colorado's 8-1 to the under in their last 9 games. Padres have been trending under as well, 6-2 in their last 8 games. Neither team's really hit. Look at the Rockies at home. I mean, we always think Rockies at home hitting the baseball. 4 runs in the last 3 games combined against San Francisco. Brebbia, well, Logan Webb I like, but Brebbia opens twice against the Giants, and it's a bunch of relievers shutting down the Rockies. They ain't hitting during this homestand other than the first game against San Francisco. Padres aren't a lineup that's clicking, consistently. They've had a couple games, 4, 5, 6, but there's a lot of 1s and 2s and 0s and 2s during the last 9 or 10 games. So, yeah, I've talked myself off the over basically. So it's a pass for me.
Yeah, if the weather wasn't so much nicer today and they're going to feel good out in the field, I would be on the under too, but I'm going to pass on this one. Let's move to 8:10 p.m. Eastern. Seattle Mariners at Kansas City Royals. We're at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. 68 Fahrenheit, 4.6 miles per hour, right to left, right across the diamond, then becomes slightly in, but very light, very, very light. And Joe saying Padres have faced some tough pitching lately. There's some truth to that for sure. Let's go over to the line history in the Mariners game here. And we got some great pitching matchup in this one. The Mariners open up at plus 109. They're now plus 119, a 10-cent move towards the Kansas City Royals. Then from a total perspective, it opened up at 7.5, juiced to the over. It's now slightly juiced. Well, there's been a 5-cent move towards the under, but still slightly juiced to the over. Marco Gonzalez, 10-14, 4.01 ERA, 1.32 whip. His last start, he allowed 5 earned runs and 6 1/3 at the Angels, but the Angels are hitting lefties, and he's not been good on the road. 4-8, 4.80 ERA, 3.02 opponents batting average. There's ASDF in the house. Great to see you. Let's see where the cash lies in this Mariners spot. We have just 1,475 tickets in. I don't know why that would be. 52% of tickets, 95% of cash on the Royals. Market moving towards them. 36% of tickets, 65% cash on the under. Brady Singer has been so good this year. 3.07 ERA, 1.14 whip. The lone bright spot of this whole Kansas City Royals baseball team, really. Maybe that's a little harsh, but 6 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, 5 Ks, 1 walk, and a 9-0 win at Boston last out. 2.87 ERA, 2.37 opponents batting average at home. The Royals aren't hitting righties at all, 234, 678, while the Mariners are doing better, 208, 707. And the Mariners bullpen's been very good now for a while. Royals bullpen has been better, 4.08 ERA, 1.31 whip, but if that's better, you can have an idea of how bad they've been. Mariners bullpen, 2.63 ERA, 1.12 whip. Bobano, do you agree with this move towards Brady Singer and the Royals? And do you agree with the move to the under? Take it away.
I know there's going to be people out there, Joe Q public, casual bettor, that says, hey a minute, Seattle's a lot better than Kansas City. Seattle's battling for a wild card spot. Well, they're going to get one. It's a matter of what wild card spot they get, 1, 2, or 3. How the hell are they an underdog here in this game? Well, we just saw Seattle very narrowly escape a sweep at the hands of the vaunted Oakland Athletics this week. So be careful here. Seattle's not infallible. All right. And they're actually not playing great baseball right now. They lost 3 out of 4 over the weekend to the Angels. They lost 2 out of 3 at Oakland, and Oakland's no juggernaut. And they fell behind yesterday too, and they rallied back to win 9-5. But they're only 2-6 in their last 8 games, Seattle. And don't look now, Kansas City's won 4 of the last 5. And I was a benefactor of cashing with Kansas City a couple of times against Minnesota. Now that was a fade of Minnesota too. But this is a Royals team that's not given up, and this punchless lineup has started to put some runs on the board. They've scored 4 or more in 4 of the last 5 games, which is a good sign. And coming into this matchup here, they're going to have Brady Singer on the mound for them with a 3.07 ERA this year. Pretty solid numbers. Singer, since August the 3rd, 5-1, 15 earned runs in 56 innings, and a 2.41 ERA. 7 quality starts since August 3rd. Be careful. Be careful if you like Seattle here. I lean Kansas City. I'm not betting it, but I definitely lean Kansas City.
Look at these numbers. And my apologies for having their numbers versus righties when obviously Marco Gonzalez is a lefty. Number 1 in MLB versus lefties over the last 30 days batting average-wise, 308, and 4th with OPS at 811.
If the price was flipped, Seattle was minus 135 on the road, I'd probably be on Kansas City, but you've still got Kansas City laying $135 against a team that is better still and needs the win. So that's why I'm not on Kansas City, but I'm definitely not on Seattle. this is a team that's shown they can lose to teams well out of the playoffs. They're doing that right now. And plus, I just flat out like Brady Singer a whole hell of a lot more than I like Marco Gonzalez right now. So, lean Royals. Just don't love the price enough.
I'm going to move on the Royals. First 5 -0.5 and full game -1 on the Kansas City Royals. Double up for
All right.
We move on to 9:40 p.m. Eastern. New York Mets at Oakland. Oh, and the Pimp Slap play today is on the under 7.5. Looking for double digits straight. Looking to go 10 straight winners. 10 straight winners. Speaking of winners, if you are in our Cappers contest, you have Peter Loshak 10-0 and Bobano right behind him at 9-1. And then
Congrats to Pete. Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, you too, man. And right behind you, my mom and I at 8-2, and we aren't betting the same picks. But great job, Bobano. 9-1. Spectacular work.
Yeah, it's been a great start. 32-10, I believe, NFL. Crazy stuff.
Oh, I love it. I love seeing it. You richly deserved. All right, let's move on to Mets A's. Oakland Coliseum, Oakland, California. Chris Bassett, Cole Irvin. Bassett has been nice. 14-8, 3.32 ERA, 1.14 whip. Signed a 1-year, $19 million contract and has been great. Last start, 6 innings, 3 hits, 8 Ks, 2 walks, and a 5-1 win at home versus the Pirates. On the road, he's been a little worse than at home. 8-2, 3.84 ERA, 2.44 opponents' batting average. Cole Irvin, 9-11, 3.79 ERA, 1.10 whip. Last start, 7 innings, 7 hits, 4 run, 3 homers, 1 K, no walks, an 8-5 win at Houston. At home, he's been better than on the road. 2.75 ERA, 206 opponents' batting average. Mets are hitting lefties right now decently. 234, 753 OPS. Last 30 A's versus righties, 226, 659. And the Mets bullpen has got their shit together. They're pitching very well. 3.19 ERA, 1.20 whip. And the A's bullpen is falling apart. We will start with the A's or the Oakland weather. 76 Fahrenheit, 6.7 miles per hour left to right, and then out. Then it goes out 5.4 and 4.3. We go over to the line history here. Oh, sorry. This is the wrong one here. We go for Bassett versus Irvin line history. We have the Mets opening up at -220, now -218, a 2-cent move towards the A's. From a total perspective, it opened 7 juice to the over. It still is, but 2-cent move back. And I wonder if the A's have sharp money on them. They're giving Mets line value at 10%, maybe a little more, 12%. And they have 80% of tickets, 86% of cash on Bassett and the Mets, and then 63% of tickets, 74% cash on the over. But the market moving 2 cents to the under. Take it away for us, Bobano, Mets, A's.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot here. The Mets probably should win this game, but we thought Seattle could beat Oakland too, and Oakland won that series. So be a little bit careful. And one thing we know about Cole Irvin is, I don't think he's been as good since the All-Star break overall, and the numbers will bear that out. He's definitely struggled a lot more. Last start against Houston, he actually pitched pretty well. 4 runs, 7 hits, 7 innings. A lot of the damage was later in that start. Pitched well against the White Sox. Before that, he had a rough time. Got crushed by Washington, crushed by Atlanta. Still, the A's are 4-1 in his last 5 starts. We know he's much better at home, 2.75 ERA at home, 7-8 in his home starts are the Oakland Athletics. Bassett's very good, very consistent. He had 1 rough outing against the Cubs, but throw that one out, and he's pretty much been 2 runs or less in the majority of his starts since the beginning of August. Mets have been winning with him. So it's a pass for me. I mean, the Mets should win, could win. They have been winning with Bassett on the mound, but Irvin's been, and the A's have actually won games lately, 4-1 in his last 5 starts. He pitches well at home. Maybe an under, maybe a first 5 full game under split. That would be a lean, I think, for me in this one, would be that.
And Joe Yurkovich likes the first 5 under. And shout out to Joe Yurkovich. He's also 8-2, 1 game behind Bobano. 8-2, great job, Joe. And TJ got through the Survivor with Cleveland last night. Ballsy. And then we have a look from Billy Friedrich, first 5 plus a half with Cole Irvin. I kind of like that. For sure. But I'm going to stay off of the spot as well. Let's move on to 9:40 p.m. Eastern, and we have the gift from our man TJ, and that is the San Francisco Giants first 5 minus a half for Giants Diamondbacks. There's 2 games left on the card before we put a bow on this. Carlos Rodon going up against Travis Henry. Rodon's been very good of late. Coming off a 4-1 win at home versus the Braves, he allowed 1 run. It was not earned. 8 Ks, 1 walk in 5 innings. 2.84 ERA, 1.04 whip on the year. He's been very good. 220 Ks in 167 and 2/3. On the road, he's been a little worse. 3.51 ERA, 202 opponents batting average. Going up against Travis Henry, who got off to a great start in his MLB career, but things have been coming back to earth. The Padres, who don't hit anybody, got to him. 5 earned runs, 3 homers, and 4 1/3. Giants versus lefties, just 208, 605. And Diamondbacks versus lefties, 193, 551. Wow. And the Giants bullpen.
I think I heard you, Jimmy. I got to interrupt. I think I heard you say Travis Henry. You think of the
it's
full
Tommy,
football
right?
running back. Yeah, you said Travis Henry.
Sorry, my bad. I wrote down Travis
Former
Henry.
Bill, Bronco, and Titan. I remember him. Yep.
Yeah, you can tell that I'm just I'm not sleeping here. The whole family's sick. I'm forcing these shows because we're so hot that I won't miss one day. I can't miss one day, but it's I'm in pain here. But the only big advantage here, other than Rodon against Tommy Henry, is the bullpen. That bullpen, 2.63 runs better, the Giants bullpen over 9 innings than the Diamondbacks over the last 30 days. So let's take a look at the line history here in this one, and then the cash flow, and then hand it over to Bobano to take care of the rest. We have these Giants opening up minus 121. They're now minus 168. Woo! A huge move to the Giants. This total's gone from 7.5 to 8. Just a huge move to the Giants. Cash-wise, we see line value towards Arizona, and they haven't given us a money line. With 74% of the tickets on San Francisco, you have to think the big bets are on them too with the market move the way it is. Then 61% of tickets on the over, but just 32% of cash. That's strange. TJ took Giants full game minus 125 last night, and TJ says huge letdown spot for Arizona that wanted to play spoiler. Wow. Thank you, Mark, my man. Take it away for us, Bobano. Giants, Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I think there is some truth to that. This could be a tricky spot for Arizona. You know, they played their guts out against the Dodgers. And you could talk about how maybe the Dodgers weren't as amped up, you know, they've pretty much clinched everything or close to it. But Arizona played a tough series. They thought they had beaten them last night. They had a 1-0 lead, or 2-1 lead going into the bottom of the ninth. And that freaking bullpen of Arizona blows it, which makes me pissed off because I had Arizona first. I had pushed on the first 5. I lost the full game money. I thought it was still a great price. Backing Gallen. Dodgers showing some vulnerability. I think we'll get to the Dodgers. I ain't looking to lay big numbers with them down the stretch. That's for sure. But in this spot, I worry about Arizona. Henry, you know, is a guy that's making a spot start here. His numbers, 5.5 ERA, is not great. And here's the Giants, where, remember, they got swept by the Dodgers last weekend. And after that series, I'm like, oh, let's fade the Giants moving forward. That, you know, they just put in everything into that Dodger series. They get swept. How are they going to show up against Colorado next series? And sure enough, they sweep Colorado, win 4 straight. So much for that crackpot theory. But nevertheless, Giants, you know, Rodon's been great. The last few starts, he's been really good. He's the better arm here. I don't like the spot for Arizona. I lean Giants, but I'm going to stay out of it.
Yeah, I like the gift. I'm going to spend more time on TJ's gift. I think it's going to cash. I like it. First 5 -1/2. I think I will be rolling with our guy, TJ. Let's talk about the final game on the card. Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California. Jose Quintana going up against Andrew Heaney. 2 lefties here. Quintana continues to pitch spectacularly well. Coming off an 8-inning performance, 6 Ks, no walks, no earned runs, 3.16 ERA, 1.25 whip. That's combined with St. Louis and Pittsburgh. Heaney has been good. I mean, not quite as good as he was off the hop, but man, 2.66 ERA, 1.05 whip, 92 Ks in 61 innings. He's coming off not allowing a run over 4 innings, getting 8 strikeouts in the 4-3 extra inning win at the Giants. Cards are hitting lefties hard, a ton of power, 214, 794 OPS. Dodgers are hitting lefties harder, 297, 903 OPS. Cards bullpen is still being mediocre, even though they're playing well. Dodgers bullpen has been excellent all year long. Let's take a look at the weather first here in LA. 79 Fahrenheit, 5 miles per hour to right center. Then we'll take a look at the line history here in the Dodgers spot. One move here. And we have a 14-cent move over to the Cardinals. And from a total perspective, it opened up at 8.5 and has dropped to 8. And when we look at the cash flow, here we have sorry, my nose is starting to run. Why don't you take it over while my nose runs? Here,
It looks like you're in some trouble there. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I'm gonna be on St. Louis here. First 5 full game split. I'm gonna stay strong with my belief that there's gonna be spots to fade the Dodgers as big favorites moving forward. Now they're not as big favorites here, but that's because they're playing a really good St. Louis team. Quintana's been great. I'm finally buying in and drinking the Kool-Aid of Jose Quintana. He's been excellent. 4 starts, 4-0 in his last 4 starts since August 31st. He's given up a grand total of just 4 runs over his last 22-plus innings. It's been terrific. He's been terrific. And he's actually got a very good track record against these Dodgers. He's given up 2 runs or less in 4 straight starts against the LA Dodgers coming into this one. And I'm still not quite ready to say, let's lay this price with Andrew Heaney. I know Andrew Heaney's been a little bit better lately, but all I can think of with this guy for years, going back to his time with the Angels, is mediocrity, disappointment, underachieving, never staying healthy, always getting injured. And he's pitched better the last 2 starts, but Padres when they weren't hitting, Giants who are a hit or miss spotty offense. There's pitching against a Cardinals offense that look, lately they've not been as good. I'll give you that. But when St. Louis is on, they're still pretty good offense. They've been hitting lefties most of the season pretty well. I actually wouldn't talk anyone out of the under here in this one, first 5 or full game split or both, because Heaney has pitched a little better. I think Quintana will pitch well against the Dodgers. You've got a great combination here. Current form for Quintana has been excellent the last 4 starts, and he has a track record of shutting down the Dodgers. 2 runs or less in 4 straight starts against the LA Dodgers for Quintana. So I think the under could be in play here, but officially I'm going to go with St. Louis, first 5 full game money line.
The sharp money all over the cards, by the way. 15% of the tickets and 57% of the cash. Then 54% of tickets, 76% of cash on the over. I'm going to line shop for first 5 and full game, and then it's friends and family time for us. First 5, though, the best line I can find here is a plus 145. I'll see if we can beat that. Plus 145 on the full game, or first 5, sorry. And the full game, a plus 150. Plus 145, plus 150. Let's get our guy Jose up here for friends and family.
Jimmy's dying here, Jose.
We need to step in and talk for him here. Friends and family, here we go. Bobano, how about you start off friends and family as Jimmy continues to die? We might not see Jimmy next week. Who knows?
Well,
wither away.
Let's do this, though, so Bobano can take a look at all of his action here that he's given out and see if he likes anything the best. Did you want to add anything, or do you have any feel, or do you want to study Luis Cessa now pitching for the Reds?
I'm gonna stick with the over there at 9. It's even money now, so I'll stick with that. I'm also gonna add Cubs team total over 3.5. I'd rather just, which is, let me just get the price. I actually have bet that while we've been doing the show here. That way I can just fade Bryce Wilson and the pretty bad Pittsburgh bullpen. I don't have to worry about what Assad does or a Pittsburgh lineup I don't necessarily trust. Yeah, Chicago Cubs team total over 3.5 minus 137. I'm going to take that.
Okay, you got that. And then the over 9 in Milwaukee, Cincinnati at even money.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that, even with Cessa.
Okay, so let's review all action here. Bobano's on the Ticats plus 2.5 and the over 51. I'm on the under 46.5 in Toronto, Ottawa. Then Bobano's on the Stamps plus 1.5 and the over 54.5 in Calgary, BC. Summers are for Taint is Alabama first quarter minus 10.5. We stayed off that spot. Bobano gets started with the Air Force minus 24 at minus 108. Spreadsheet's also on that. And Gambler's first glance is on the under 47 in Nevada Air Force. Then Bobano's on the under 45.5 in the Boise UTEP game. I'm going to roll with that. I'm also going to roll with the UTEP. Then Bobano, team total over 3.5 for the Cubbies. The over 9 at +100 in Milwaukee, Cincinnati. Washington, Miami, we stayed off. I'm moving on the Phillies first 5 -0.5. Bobano is on the over 7.5 in Boston, New York. One thing we didn't talk about was the Yankees celebration for making the playoffs. Do you think that affects the Yankees here at all, Bobano?
I honestly don't think it affects. Like some teams, they get affected, but this team, make the playoffs? They're going to have this big celebration. I mean, big deal. You crushed it in the first half before falling apart a little bit in the second half. It shouldn't be a big deal that they clinched a playoff spot. I don't think it's as much of a worry for a letdown for them as, say, some other teams in that spot.
Jose, you agree with that?
Yeah, the Yankees have made the playoffs since 3 months ago. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Astros, Orioles, no action. Then Bobano is on the Rays. First 5 -0.5 and full game -1. Bobano's on the Guardians at +110. Angels, Twins, we stayed off. Bobano's on the Tigers, first 5 at +140 and full game at +160. Padres, Rockies, we stayed off. I'm on the Royals, first 5 -0.5 and full game -1. Pimp slap play of the day going for 10 straight. It's on the under 7.5 in the Mariners, Royals. Mets, A's, we stayed off. The gift from TJ is San Francisco, first 5 -0.5. I like that look. I'm going to roll with it. And then Bobano is on the Cards, first 5 +145, full game +150. All right, friends and family, you have been summoned to pop us off. Friends and family, Bobano, what do you like?
Rays first 5 -0.5.
Rays.
I knew it was going to be. I knew one of you two were going to pick that game.
I don't even have action on it.
No, he didn't move on that, Jimmy. He's worried about the non-line move toward Tampa.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I knew one of you two would pick the anti-Mitch White pick. That's what I figured.
Okay, Jose, I'm still looking for me, so why don't you take it away? What are you doing?
Sure. I am looking around, looking for interesting lines. I am going to take the Boston Red Sox first 5 team total over 1.5 at +120 for me on Bovada.
Sorry, say that again.
First 5 team total over 1.5.
First 5 team total over 1.5. First 5 team total over 1.5 for who, Jose? Sorry,
Boston.
Yeah.
Red Sox. Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then I am going on the Royals. No, I like the Royals first 5 money line. I think that's going to cash, but it's not. It'll be the Phillies first 5 money line. And I know it's juice, but this is a parlay piece. Phillies first 5 money line. Let me pull up Wednesdays. There's a argument in the chat, and the great thing here is that I keep notes on everything. The play of the day on Wednesday was the Twins first 5 -0.5. So the pimp slap play of the day.
Bobano, was your play first 5 -1/2 or first 5 money line? Real quick.
-0.5. Yeah, -0.5. Yep.
And where's my pimp slap play of the day?
This is the benefit of having Jimmy's meticulous notes. And by the way, he definitely didn't even have to open anything. That note from that day was definitely still open. So all he had to do was click. Okay, right here.
You're right. You are absolutely right here. I don't know why I don't have pimp slap, but I will be able to pull it up here.
Even in death, Jimmy has his notes.
Yes, I do.
You could just see Jimmy just die with the fucking papers in his hand.
Exactly. By the way, parlay, friends and family, +553.
Wednesday's pimp slap play today was Detroit Tigers first 5 under 4.5. and it cashed. First 5 under 4.5. So,
by the way, for those people who do not have first 5 team totals, I wouldn't also hate if you took a regular just team total as well with the Red Sox. 3, let me double check. On Bovada right now, 3 is plus 110, 2.5's at minus 130. So one of the rare times where Bovada is beating out Bet Online. But I either juice way, I take it.
There you have it. First 5 team total over 1.5 Red Sox. Bobano's on the Rays. First 5 minus a half. No fear. He could have taken the money line because it's a parlay piece, but no fear whatsoever. I'm on the Phillies. First 5 money line is my part. Congrats, R2D2. Thank you for giving that out. Billy Friedrich, it's Phillies. First 5 money line is my piece of the friends and family parlay. Thank you guys for sticking with me and sticking with us through the weird YouTube outage. Jose, stick with us while we put a bow on this. But thank you guys all so much for that. We can't do anything without you. We want the poker tournament to be a huge success on Wednesday. We're going to push it hard. We want you all involved. It'll be all over my Twitter. We really want you all involved. Thank you, TJ, Tom Leach, MDR24, Mike M, Billy Friedrich, R2D2, Finland, Sammy, Mike Morris, Joseph Gomez, North Ender, XCal360. One thing you'll find with us, Mike, and you made a mistake, and apologize to Mike, but we care about transparency more than winning. We care about honesty more than success. It's the most important thing to us because there's so much fraudulence in this industry that it is the most important thing. And that's what we learned from Pete Loshak, that it's actually more important than winning. You want cappers who are being transparent and honest and just telling you really what's happening. That's the most important thing here because you can't find it when you look around at other spots. So you'll find that the guys on this show all follow that. And if they don't, they stop being around the show and stop being a part of the show because we don't want to support that. So Mr. Always Profit, XCal360, Christopher Comentini, Top Set Lit Picks, all of you guys, thank you so much for your support. Rocco Rogers, Razor, Jay Peasy, Joe Yurkovich, Mark Tequila, thank you so much. And don't forget, we got huge shows coming up, huge shows coming up. 3:10, we have Prize Picks with our friends at Prize Picks. So you get they match any buy-in there, your first initial buy-in. They matched up to 100%, up to $100. And we have the Prize Pick Show at 3:10. Then at 4:20 Daily Sesh at 5:30 p.m. we have Say Hey Plays. Who's your guest for Say Hey Plays?
Connor Mack joins me. And by the way, little announcement for the friends and family watching the show right now. Daily Sesh, I'll be co-hosting today with Dabby Cab.
Oh, nice.
Me and Dabby Cab on the Daily Sesh. That'll be a whole lot of fun. And then, yes, Connor Mack, me right after the Daily Session, going on a Say Hey Connor Mack, 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central. And then, of course, later tonight, Dabby Cab's college football stream. That, of course, I'll be on as well, actually, second half. So busy day, a lot of Jose, but shout out to them. And shout out to our new presenting sponsor at Say Hey Play, SeatGeek.
Yeah.
Saying it. Pub Sports Radio promo code, your first purchase on your account. Go use it, $20 whole ass dollars off your account. I don't know what that is in Canadian. I'll be honest. I don't know what that is in Canadian. But you can go on there. And like I say, perhaps, again, you make one account. You use the promo code. You enjoy that concert, that game. Perhaps you make another account. Perhaps you put that promo code in again. It's all these things you percolate in your head. You get to keep eating that $20 off. That's not me saying it. Those are just, some thoughts in my head, perhaps some good ideas. I don't know.
Whatever it is in Canadian, it's fucking more, obviously. Yeah, that much I know.
There you go. Perfect. I didn't know
that. One game has full. It is the Texas Rangers, and the games with less. The White Sox, and the Rockies are right there.
So you didn't like any Travis Henry today?
Sorry, guys. I'm barely sleeping. I'm only here because of how hot we are. Bobano, I cherish these Fridays capping with you and learning from you. We all do. So thank you so much for joining us on these Fridays. We love it. Can you please put a bow on this show and let's us into the future?
Well, first of all, we'll get to we'll throw in a little something extra as we sign off here and say goodbye. But first to everybody, as always, good luck. Thanks for watching us. Everybody in the chat, our extended family. It's a great group to be with every Friday here on this show. Good luck this weekend. Have a big profitable one. Cash some tickets, and good luck with all of your wagers. Enjoy the games and good luck. And before we sign off and give you the leche, we got to give you, because this is the game of the season for these guys, we got to give you a little Oski Wee Wee as well right here. Oski Wee Wee, Oski Wawa, holy Mackinac, Tigers, eat 'em raw, and leche, and those bookmakers.